Ohayo na! Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good time zone to all of you. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Neo. Hi, Alpha. Yes, hello, hello, hello. Today it's gonna be a slightly different kind of stream. Hi, Swillman. Hi, hi, hi. Hello, hello. Oh, wait, Zoink Noise. Sorry, I read your username before I read your message. Hi, Zoink. Hi, hi, hi. Um, Hi, William. Hi, Fox. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you all. Today, I figured we're gonna go check out the Star Control 2 manual. Yeah. Hey, Slurp. Hi, hi, hi. I'm glad to see some of you are excited. I was a little bit nervous today because it's the first time I am doing something like this. I mentioned it a little bit last week, but I opened up the manual about half an hour before I start the stream and realized it actually has like a lot of interesting lore and character settings. So I wanted to take like a longer time to read it, but I thought some of you guys might be interested too. Hi Yuku, hi hi hi. So I wanted to read it. So at the same time, I remember proposing something like this a few months ago, and some people didn't seem very interested. So that's kind of why we're gonna do it very casually today on YouTube, like a little bit um, more low key, a little bit more casual, in case it doesn't go well. But I'm quite excited because it does look very interesting, and I've been curious to learn more about the world of Star Control. I'll fall asleep this distance. I've been up since 5:30. Oh no worries. If you need to sleep, get yourself some sleep. I got myself some tea. Because we will be doing a lot of reading. I got this new tea. That apparently is really good for the throat. So, is Little Joe doing a Fortnite dance? No, Little Joe is doing the apple dance. She's apple dancing. Speaking of Little Joe, I need to put the hamster wheel back. There we go. Had to remove the hamster wheel the other day when we were on Namek because, on Namek they don't need hamster wheels. That's just the way it is. Sorry, taking a sip of my tea. I might, get up halfway through to make myself another cup if I feel like it. It's pretty good. It's pretty tasty. It's like, I think it's just like lemon with like something flowery, but it actually has like a bit of a cinnamony undertaste. Like it has that same kind of like aftertaste to it. And I quite like cinnamon, so that's a plus for me. But without like the little bit of heat you get from cinnamon, I guess. The I forgot how to pronounce it again. The echidna tea. It is good. It is good. But yeah, so in preparation of playing Star Control, I also thought we could like go over the notes a little bit. I rearranged my notes. I made them quite nice throughout the week. Wrote them down a little bit more cleanly than I did initially, so I can actually follow what they are saying, and then I could like start planning where I want to go next. Yeah, the Echichinea. You guys told me how I'm supposed to pronounce it, and I already forgot how you're supposed to do it. It's been like a day. I'm sorry. I'm really bad with memory sometimes, I guess. But it is okay. I want to stand over here and show you guys the manual. Ta-da! So the nice thing is, if you buy the game on GOG, it actually comes with the manual as well. But this is a nice manual. Hi, Aquaxis. Hi, hi, hi. Echinacea. Echinacea. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, this is our manual for today. I'll actually go to the first page because, like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I know there's an IBM manual as well. I mean the 3DO manual. This is the IBM one. The 3DO one, I'm not sure how different it is. Hey, it's Chris. Hey, hey, hey. But we're checking the IB1 one now. Yeah, Knuckles the Echinacea. So yeah, it's actually very in depth. But the coolest part here is that it goes over controls and stuff, but you might notice that between introduction and starting the game, there's like 15 pages. And that's because it goes into the history of the game. And I thought that would be cool because, like, of course, they show us a bit of the opening cutscene. But that is not the entire story yet, right? Like, I figure in this one we can learn a little bit more about our history. Though I'm sure that it will be covered in the game when the time comes. But you know, they assume you read the manual first. I think it's okay for us to read it too. And also the nice thing is that you know, in the appendixes, there's so much about the alien races, which I think is very cool. I actually wrote down like some notes for all the different aliens. From our just gameplay last time. Hi, will be hi. But there's more basically is what I'm saying. So, let me take a sip of my drink and we'll get started. And I'll read it out to you guys. Hi Otis, hi. Welcome aboard. Star Control 2 will take you on a far journey, a space odyssey encompassing the realm of science fiction and role-playing. This epic adventure spans hundreds of light years and evokes a history reaching back over 250,000 years. As you travel out among the stars, your decisions and actions will directly affect the destiny of 18 intelligent star-faring species, including the inhabitants of Earth. Star Control 2 is only in part a sequel to Star Control, which focuses exclusively on the strategy and tactics of the bitter Urquan Slave War, known by the philosophical as the Great Crucible of Sentience. You need not have played the first game to enjoy this one. However, if you have never fought a Star Control space battle, you may wish to practice with the Super Melee game before facing enemy forces. The evil aliens you encounter are adept at the art of war and unforgiving of weakness. We did find out during our first battle that they are indeed unforgiving of any opening in your defense. The history that follows details the critical involvement of Earth in the conflict between the Alliance of Free Stars and the villainous Urquan hierarchy. Study what happened, learn from the mistakes of those that went before. Only in this way will you be prepared for the mystery, the intrigue, and the blazing action of Star Control 2. You know, I kind of talked about the other day, but I kind of want to do, you know, like book reading stream at some point. Like, I kind of want to read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to you, so this will kind of be practice. This will be your own Sea Bunny audiobook. In the beginning, the time is in the year 2155. That would be amazing. I think it will be really fun, especially since a lot of you haven't heard of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy yet, and I love that book. Yet the story begins over 2 centuries before. In the 1930s, a time when surface vehicles on Earth burned fossil fuels. Oh, that's interesting. That's going back then, further back than we did in the game. It's all hard to imagine now, of course, getting from place to place in a dangerous, noisy machine with an engine that set fire to spurts of prehistoric goo. Makes one shudder. Humans had another quaint oddity in those days. It was a little box called a radio that transmitted a mindless mix of music and speech. The radio was a harmless division. Really, until the radio towers got taller and the broadcasts got stronger. Until the transmissions began to pulse out into the vacuum of space, widening electromagnetic waves throughout the universe. It wasn't long before the broadcasts from Earth reached distant stars, and several alien races took note of this new evidence of life on the far-off blue planet. One of the species listening was the Urquan, a life form devoid of conscience or character, a race genetically compelled to conquest. As early as 1940, the Urquan began to formulate sinister schemes to attack Earth. Other aliens, meanwhile, benign species that wished only peace, laid plans to warn Earthlings of the Urquan threat. Now that's quite interesting because we know that the Urquan Wars, you know, started taking place quite a bit later after we already developed space travel. But that means that the Urquan, you know, knew about Earth far before they are introduced into the story or like even start attacking the solar systems that's like are Earth adjacent and like part of the same alliances. That's interesting. Like this text like nearly makes it seem that like Earth was like one of the first that like drew the Urquan's attention, but that can't be right because I'm sure other species had like radio waves because they're already, you know, trying to warn Earthlings of the Urquan threat. Actually, benign species. It makes me, what was their name? The Lalilulelo. I think was it them. I have them in my notes. Let me grab my notes. Because you have the Arilu, that's the one. I got them mixed up. The Arilu, were the aliens that came to Earth first. If their sightings kind of coincide with 1940, I wonder if they're the benign species that wish for peace, and that's why they interfered with humanity. That's just speculation, though. The Twitch rapper looks weird. Oh yeah, it's a little bit different today. Hiya, Eiko. Just for this stream. We'll be back on Twitch in the evening. Speaking of which, I should pull the chat up a little bit higher so you guys can also see the messages. There we go. Okay. The scrutiny of Earth intensifies. From their strange worlds many light years away, both good and evil aliens watched with growing interest as Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to orbit the planet in 1961. Less than a decade later, a tremor swept through the advanced life forms beyond the solar system as American astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin became the first men to tread Earth's satellite moon. Alien scrutiny of Earth intensified. Meanwhile, the fratricidal conflicts had scourged mankind since the species evolved continued unabated. The small war of 2015 came close to obliteration civilization on Earth when nuclear combat broke out between several Middle Eastern countries. I was trying to think like which war that was, and then I remembered this game came out much earlier than 2015, so that's all speculative fiction. Fortunately, the exchange was relatively small, limited to less than a dozen warheads, and global conflagration was narrowly avoided. Even so, nearly 1 million people died. The terrible loss of life and the near thing of a planet-wide Armageddon sobered heads of government around the world. The leaders of the industrialized nations and the Third World met at the United Nations headquarters in New York and agreed to cooperate in an immediate strengthening of UN authority. Within 6 months, the UN Security Council had assembled a large peacekeeping army and assumed worldwide control over all weapons of mass destruction. Mass-scale devices were gathered up from every country that possessed them. The weapons were then dismantled and the components stored in huge subterranean bunkers that came to be known as peace vaults. Simultaneously, the UN outlawed the sale of smaller arms. It took nearly a decade to end all armed conflict on Earth, yet the goal was finally achieved. 10 years after the UN summit in 2025, Earth experienced its first year without war. Oh, it's nice that they managed to fix it though, I guess, in the end. To ensure the total destruction of the arms trade, the United Nations prohibited future weapons research, including development of nuclear fusion and fission technologies that might be adapted for bomb-making purposes. Laser applications were also closely monitored to prevent the design of Star Wars-like weapons. I mean, we do have the weapons in the end, so I guess they go back on that once we make it into space. Despite these restrictions, science continued to advance across a wide spectrum of disciplines, especially in biotechnology. Brilliant Swiss scientist Hsien Ho combined the now complete human genome map with sophisticated genetic engineering techniques and perfected the artificial parthenogenesis, cloning, of humans at the Zurich Biotechnic in 2019. Though clones were, to all external appearances, human, Hsien Ho modified their genes so that they were not capable of producing offspring. That might be... let me see my notes. The androgynes that we know were enslaved by humanity for 50 years, according to my notes, that don't like humanity. I wonder if that's the ones who become the androgynes down the line. Meanwhile, a new religious order, known as Homo Deus, or the Godly Man, was founded in the aftermath of the Small War and the emotional turmoil caused by the destruction of the Holy Lands. Its charismatic founder, former car salesman Jason McBride, built his worldwide following on the thesis that the millennium was near. McBride even predicted a specific date, March 11, 2046. That hasn't been yet. We can put that down on our calendar for a Star Control 2 party in 22 years. When heaven and earth would join and each devout person would be elevated to a divine status. The movement captured the imagination of millions of poor and disillusioned individuals worldwide. Within a few years, Brother Jason was one of the most powerful and influential people on the planet. For most people on Earth, the following 2 decades were a golden time of peace and prosperity. This was not the case for Hsien Ho's now adult clones. Seeing Ho's creation as a threat to his godly man, Jason McBride fought to have the clones declared subhuman. Oh, okay, so that's what happened. I'll probably be dead by then. No. I'll make sure we're all immortal before the time comes. Calling them Androsins, or the Fake Man. He used the vast research of his Homo Deus organization to strip the clones of their human rights. Sadly, as the years passed, the Androsins became little better than well-treated slaves. Not unexpectedly, March 11, 2046 came and went without the arrival of Jason McBride's promised millennium. Citing a lack of genuinely devout people, McBride withdrew from the public life and faded into obscurity, his powers and fortunes rapidly dwindling. Okay, so, as it often goes with those predictions, nothing actually happened when the day came. Okay, this is interesting because when I initially heard about the Androsins, I kind of half expected, because of the name Synth, for them to, oh, hello, I'm flying around a little bit. It's because I was holding my notes up in front of me. I kind of thought that they might be more mechanical, but it seems they are straight up clones, like with some modified genes, but they're not mechanical. They're genetically engineered. That's interesting. I had misinformed opinions about the Androsins. It's even sadder if they're not like, robots. They are just humans. They were just cloned. Poor guys. Okay, so let's go to the next page. By the middle of the 21st century, Earthlings had begun to colonize their solar system. Planets orbiting factories led to lunar bases, and soon there were mining and research outposts scattered across the asteroid belt. Yet the expansion of mankind into deep space was limited by the relatively slow speed at which spacecraft could travel. Research began in earnest to develop a ship that could warp towards the distant stars faster than the speed of light. Okay. Then, I guess we knew it was coming eventually. The Androsynth Rebellion. In retrospect, the clone revolt of 2085 was inevitable. Stronger, smarter, and more adaptable than normal humans. The Androsynths despised and deeply resented their status as slaves. By the late 70s, there are tens of thousands of Androsynths distributed across the planet, many of them doing sophisticated scientific and technological research. Then in the spring of 2085, the Androsynths staged a worldwide rebellion, throwing off their chains with the help of a sympathetic human underground. The uprising had been exquisitely planned. Within 24 hours, the clones had captured nearly every spaceflight facility on the planet. Androsynths working at the centers had secretly fueled and readied over 1,000 spacecraft to carry their people off this hated planet. 2 days after the rebellion began, the freed clones took over all orbital and lunar bases, leaving not a single Androsynth on the face of Earth. Star Control, the recently established wing of the United Nations military forces, made several attempts to evict the clones. Each time the Star Control ships approached, the craft were burned to ashes by colossal maser weapons that Androsynth scientists had fashioned out of formerly benign energy broadcast units. I wonder if that means they were basically making illegal laser weapons? Because they said they had technically banned the usage of that, Star Wars-like weapons. Or what was it, Star Trek-like weapons? I wonder if the Androsynths, with their superior intelligence, were like, no, we're actually gonna make it, because we're rebelling anyway. After 2 months of futile strikes on the Androsynth strongholds with conventional weapons, the UN leadership decided to use the means of mass destruction stored in the Peace Vault. Humanity, why? You're just gonna blow up the clones? That's not nice. Sounds like that to me too. Yeah, like at this point I feel like they should just let them go into space or something. You're not winning this battle. Come on, humanity. Okay, have to where was I? There we go. Yet before the nuclear bombs and laser rays could be reassembled, Star Control scout ships watching the orbiting bases reported an amazing sight. 8 of the largest space stations were accelerating out of Earth orbit, heading towards the periphery of the solar system. The Androsynth had somehow modified the huge space stations for flight, including the recently finished Starlight Hilton. Those star-controlled chase ships were never able to catch the space stations. A 10-thruster ore fighter on its way home from an asteroid mining base with a full hold of titanium was able to make a high-V interception of the ragtag fleet. Interesting. I guess we might actually be able to find the Starlight Hilton if we encounter the Androsins down the line. You can't go into space and slow up without means to make progeny. True. I mean, then again, like the Androsins, they could just clone more of themselves, so they could just make progeny by, I don't know, having enough cloning pods, right? As the fighter pilot approached the fleeing space stations, then suddenly began to glow with a bright energy field that spun around the ships with blazing speed. According to the pilot's recorded testimony, a great red hole over 500 meters across appeared in front of the space stations. As he watched in disbelief, the stations flew into the hole one by one and disappeared in starbursts of bright lights. When the last of the Androsin strongholds had disappeared, the hole collapsed rapidly inwards, imploding finally to nothingness. Over 30 years would pass before the humans encountered the Androsins again. So it sounds to me that the Androsins discovered how to use hyperspace travel. Let me see, is that how it was called again? Yeah, hyperspace travel. Because it does go like all reddish and stuff whenever you do that in the game. Ominous indeed. I guess that like we eventually as humans either learn technology as well or learn it from the other aliens. I mean, we know that from the game itself that the Androsins are ultimately quite hostile to us for, I guess, quite understandable reasons. So I'm curious when we will encounter them, how they will respond. Though then again, I feel that like maybe they'd be willing to like negotiate. If they presumably aren't fans of the Yurkwan themselves, we could have like a temporary truce, you know, enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situation, if they didn't negotiate something like that with the Yurkwan first. Okay, aliens contact Earth. In 2112, the largest and most remote space installation, Ceres Base, was built on a 700-kilometer wide asteroid of the same name. 3 years later, Ceres Base would be the site of mankind's first official contact with an alien life form, the crystalline Shenjesu. Okay, so the Shenjesu was the first. Let me check my Shenjesu notes, because I know, yeah, they were the Alliance leaders. My notes say silicon, smart, ancient, and they have good receptors. Is what my notes say about the Shenjesu. I don't have anything saying they were our first formal contract, but I do know that our first contract was likely the Arilu because they were messing around with humanity before that. Okay. The alien vessel suddenly appeared out of nowhere, a scarlet flash of light announcing its presence as it took up position 3 kilometers above the asteroid. Almost immediately, the alien ship began broadcasting this message. People from Earth. We are the Shenjesu. We mean you no harm. We come in peace with an urgent message. Heed these words. There is a horde of conquering warriors advancing towards your planet's solar system from deep space. They are called the Yurkwan. They know you are here. They will make slaves of you, as they have made slaves of 1,000 races across the galaxy. They will enslave both our species, Shenjesu and human, unless we stop them now. We are not alone in our struggle. There are others who will fight with us against the Yurkwan. Together in an alliance with the remaining 3 stars, we may yet turn back the enemy, defeating the Yurkwan in its hierarchy of battle trolls. We beseech you to join us, for we desperately need your help. But we do not have much time. What is your answer? For over a week, the answer from Earth was stunned silence. Yeah, the Dark Force theory of space travel, indeed. That's like the one where like we just haven't heard from the others yet, right? Ah, that is interesting. Because like that means that our first formal contact with aliens was actually for them to warn us that they're already out there coming to get us. Why don't we hear from aliens? Shut up, they'll hear you, basically. You know, they did say that, what was it? Like in in the 70s, no, the 30s, we had the radio. In the 40s, the Yurkwan found us already. That's interesting because that means that humanity didn't really get to the point of making alien contact themselves. Like, we never hit the point of spacefaring property. You know, the Androsid kind of beat us and just left us alone on the planet. And then it was the Genjutsu that actually kind of accelerated us into spacefaring to help it, basically to find an ally to fight the Yurkwan. That's interesting. I'll assume that they'll probably are the ones who gave us the technology. The Alliance of the Free Stars. The Genjutsu representatives were patients, beings of vast intellect and perception. They understood the psychological shock their sudden appearance had on the inhabitants of Earth, and people who had, amazingly, never before had contact with a species other than their own. The aliens remained in the solar system for several months, conferring with the political, military, and scientific leaders of Earth. Meanwhile, the Genjutsu starship transported UN observers through hyperspace to visit several worlds that had been attacked by the Yurkwan and their hierarchy of battle trolls. The sad evidence of the wholesale slaughter and devastation and the accounts of their survivors proved that the Genjutsu account was true. On August 1st, 2116, Earth joined the Genjutsu and their other allies, the Murmurharm, the Jihad, the Shovixti, and unofficially the Cyrene, to form the Alliance of Free Stars. I see. Also, if we do need to be quiet, that time has long passed, that's true. Unless, just like the Yurkwan, they're still watching, waiting, you know. They found us, but they wouldn't attack us till, next century. They're still on their way out there to get us. The time has come. The question is, how much longer must we wait? Be very quiet. Following formal ratification of the pact by the United Nations, Star Control was placed under the direct authority of the Alliance Command Council. The Genjutsu expected Earth to play a major role in the Alliance, both as combatants and suppliers of war material. Even though Earthlings were technologically primitive, their civilization had thousands of huge modern factories and millions of skilled warriors able to manufacture both munitions and spacecraft. I see, so they kind of wanted humans to play the logistic role. I see. The tens of thousands of thermonuclear weapon components stashed away in the peace vaults were an additional bonus, which surprised even the Genjutsu. Aha, they could be watching the stream too. Oh no. They could be out here, watching even now. They better not listen too closely then. On the following Earth's formal introduction to the Alliance. Oh, it's okay, I'll speak normally. Without the manual, so puzzled by the backstory. Yeah, I think it definitely clarifies a lot of things. They already started hinting at a couple of these events when we were talking to the people we met. But I feel like this is definitely giving a much clearer insight to what is actually going on. They could be any one of us. Otis, are you one of them? Ruby, you're an alien spy? No! Tens of thousands of thermonuclear weapons components stashed away in the peace vaults were an additional bonus, which surprised even the Genjutsu. Do they want us to drop a nuclear bomb on the Yurkwan? I guess it's possible, but... On the day following Earth's formal induction into the Alliance, an alien race known as the Arilulele landing first on the Earth's moon. They transmitted a request to meet with Alliance representatives and a delegation of human and Genjutsu diplomats joining to the lunar surface to establish contact. The Arilu explained that they too were threatened by the Yurkwan and had come to join the Alliance of Free Stars. My expression makeup, wow, with eating a dark green forehead. Eiko, no! Fox, no! Are all of you alien spies? I can't believe this, You know, that once again makes me worried if the Ahilu, I guess if we're going back, the aliens that were looking out, meanwhile benign beings that wished only peace, I guess that could be the Genjutsu as well, because they are the ones that ultimately warned us. But I'm still wondering if the Ahilu were the ones they're referring to there. It could be both, or it could just be the Genjutsu, I suppose. Okay. The Arielu explained that they too were threatened by the Yuquan and had come to join the Alliance of Free Stars. Alliance headquarters was consulted, and soon afterwards the Arielus were welcomed into the coalition. Although the Arielu were extremely secretive, being unwilling to discuss even the location of their homeworlds, they provided additional strength to the Alliance. The strength was to be tested almost immediately. I see. I mean, the Arielu, like out of all the alien species we haven't met yet, I think the Arielu is like one of the ones I'm most fascinated by, because we have heard throughout the game that they are the most like our, traditional little grey men. And the fact that they have clearly interfered or meddled with humanity for a long time, like I'm curious to see what the motivation behind that is, or if they're just doing it as a cool prank like the Umga, but they... I'm not sure, it was no one except me. Alpharius, no! Are you an alien too? The course of the war. There are many great battles between the Alliance of Free Stars and Yuquan and the hierarchy of battle trolls. Both the Alliance and the hierarchy built hundreds of asteroid forts all across the spiral arm of the galaxy. Only a small fraction of these fortified positions and the colonies and mining bases that surrounded them survived the fighting. As the war spread, new alien races were drawn into the conflict until there were finally 14 separate species at war. On the Alliance side, there were the Earthlings, the Genjesut, the Jahad, the Murmuram, the Arhilulele, the Cyrene, and the Shofixti. Fighting with the Yuquan were the Mycon, the Spati, the Androsynth, the Vox, the Ilwat, and the Amga. By 2134, it was becoming clear to both sides that the Yuquan and the hierarchy of the battle trolls were slowly but surely winning the war. I see. But then, Captain Burton's discovery. On March 16, 2134, Star Control Captain I. Burton, a respected 28-year-old female Earthling, was leading a task force of heavy cruisers on a deep recon into what was believed to be a friendly sector near the Zima Vela star cluster. Hold on, do I have notes about Zima Vela? 1 second, because that might be relevant. If I don't, I might want to note that down. Let me go, because like I'm sure that means we can actually get there. Let me write down Zima Vela. If anything, because this will likely turn us back to where we found the precursor thing, which I assume is where this is gonna be. Alright, Captain Burton. Here we go. Okay. Burton was a brilliant and beautiful, with wide-set deep blue eyes and a wide even-toothed smile and silky straw-colored hair. She also had a figure that turned heads, even aboard a warship hurtling through deep space. She had just taken a navigational starfix when the ships from Earth were suddenly ambushed by an elite force of the Androsynth Guardian combat vessels. Oh, Eiko, thank you for the membership. Please enjoy the emotes. The Androsynth ships had been modified for an extended blazer mode, giving them increased speed and range. The task force was cut to shreds and only Burton's vessel, the Tobermoon, escaped immediate destruction. Knowing that Tobermoon could not outrun the Guardian ships, Captain Burton engaged in a desperate ploy to save the ship and crew. Fear crinkling the corners of her deep blue eyes, she warped her craft towards the heart of Seaman's Star, a nearby supergiant sun. She had a desperate plan. Last-ditch ploy, she prayed with confused the pursuer's sensors. The bridge crew began to panic as the heat in the cabin climbed to oven-like temperatures. 2 enlisted men finally broke under pressure and came for Burton, terror in their eyes and sweat pouring down their faces. But the captain had guts as well as beauty. She drew her sidearm and held the mutineers off, gaining the precious minutes she needed. Finally, the cabin temperature now nearing 150 degrees Fahrenheit. She judged they were close enough to the Titanic Star for her plan to work. As the Tobermoon's outer hull began to liquefy, Burton jettisoned the ship's entire shock of nuclear missiles and detonated them. From the Androsynth's perspective, the vessel they were chasing had exploded when it flew too close to the super-hot sun. We met the Androsynths, yep. Okay, so like that's actually a good thing to note, because I wrote down Zima Vela, but that means that's probably Androsynth territory, if that's where Captain Burton met them. So that is something good to know. We're probably not strong enough to either fight or negotiate with Androsynths currently, so that's probably not a place we should be going soon. Probably not a place we should be going soon. I guess Siemens Star is also... Oh, then one of the Androsynth places. As the Androsynth task force warped out of the system, a severely damaged Tobermoon slowly emerged from its hiding place behind Siemens Star. Burton ordered the damage report, as she'd suspected the craft sustained severe damage. Worse, the ship's engineers informed her they couldn't make repairs without a planetfall on a world with breathable atmosphere. Like most supergiant stars, Seaman did not have any Earth-like planets in orbit around it. The Tobermoon limped through space for almost a week before hyperradar reconnaissance located a hospitable planet offering dwarf star Vila. Okay. Let me write... Vila... Vila 2. Hospitable planets. Okay. And it proved to be both an oxygen-rich atmosphere and a deposit of metal ore that humans could refine. Ah, it could also still have metal for us. Okay. Let me write down. Hospitable. There we go. After a successful landing, Burton ordered the engineers to begin repairs. She sent the rest of the crew off to explore their surroundings. It was only pure chance that the young ensign chose to enter an unremarkable cave in the nearby hillsides. What he found within the cave was the most remarkable discovery of the century. A huge underground installation the size of a small city. What I suspected that this would be the precursor. Precursor star. There we go. From our intro. Flying close to the sun and blowing into the news, it's pretty hardcore way. Honestly, it's pretty badass. Like, considering that they actually managed to get away with it. You know, that is a... Yeah, there we go. I see it in now that we have Vila. I knew that sounded familiar. In my About Us, I wrote that we're survival of the Vila research team. Which, yep, checks out. It's on the Vila star. I wonder if that means we can actually go back to the Vila star and meet all our friends, I guess, from the same excursion. Friends, family, we were there for a while. Okay. The cave was massive, over 2,500 meters long and averaging 50 meters from floor to ceiling. Off the main tunnel were countless side passages and hidden niches, almost all crammed with futuristic equipment and hundreds of long dormant robots. Halfway down the main gallery, a deep crevasse sliced across the tunnel floor, evidence of a tremendous prehistoric earthquake that had offset the adjoining walls by more than 10 meters. Over the centuries, water trickling into the cave from the planet's surface had carried countless minute traces of calcium carbonate that settled out as lime. As the limestone sediment built up, the deposits covered much of the precursor's wondrous machinery with smooth coating called flowstone. That was now 5 to 10 meters thick in places. Artifacts of this powerful technologically advanced alien species had been found in every quarter of known space. Yet this was the first time an entire precursor base had been discovered. Captain Burton recognized that the wealth of advanced technology could bring the Alliance victory over the Yorquan, but only if scientists could be brought to Vela 2 to study the fantastic finds. Okay. Realizing that the surrounding region of space could fall under control of the enemy at any time, Burton accelerated repairs to the Tobermoon and walked back to Earth at emergency warp speed to report her findings to the superiors at Star Control. Within a week, the Tobermoon was on the return leg to Vela 2, crammed full of hastily assembled scientific equipment and experts on both the precursor civilization and their advanced nanotechnology. Ah, okay. So, like, that must mean, like, at first I thought that meant this area was probably Androsynth territory. But if they were able to, like, stay there relatively peacefully, then maybe the Androsynth just happened to be chasing them in that quarters. Because if they were patrolling the area, surely they would have noticed the scientist team alive. Expedition to Vela 2. The most respected but least liked precursor expert in the expedition to Vela 2 was Professor Jules Farnsworth. The professor was well known for his formidable intellect and his extensive knowledge of the precursor civilization. Though recognized as a great mind, Farnsworth was also widely disliked for his flamboyant egotism and rude impatience with peers who did not hang on to his every word. Darn it, Farnsworth! It would be nice, yeah, if it was like a more peaceful area. Isn't Farnsworth like Futurama as well? Am I getting it mixed up? Because if it is, that would be like a reference maybe to Star Control 2, which could be cool. The man was simply impossible to work with for anyone with a modicum of self-respect. It wasn't long before both his fellow scientists on the mission and Captain Burton ruled the decision to bring Farnsworth alone, for the professor did little but complain during the voyage from Earth to Vela 2. Yet, as irksome as he was, Professor Farnsworth proved his worth almost immediately upon his arrival at the precursor installation. Within hours, the professor has the same name? That's cool. Like, I wonder if the Futurama people, they might have been Star Control 2 fans. Which seems pretty likely, right? Because, from what I've heard, this was such an influential game over the sci-fi genre as a whole. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's, like, unless Farnsworth is just, like, a very common name from, like, a different series. Oh, it's a reference to the inventor of the television. Ah, okay, so it's just a common name. I see it. Farnsworth, like, sounds a little bit made up, so I thought maybe that could have been a reference. Okay. Not related then, not related. Professor Farnsworth proved his worth almost immediately upon his arrival at the precursor installation. Within hours, he located the base deactivated central control computer. While the professor worked feverishly on the ancient alien's computer, Captain Burton received a fateful message from the Star Control High Command. As feared, the Yurkwan had smashed through the defensive lines drawn between the Mira and Indi constellations. Star Control reconnaissance ships reported that the large Hierarchy task force was hurtling towards the Vela star system. Captain Burton was ordered to evacuate all personnel from Vela 2 and return to Earth immediately. Burton's heart beat like a hammer in her chest as he read the rest of the message. Star Control was paranoid that the precursor's advanced technology would fall into the hands of the hated Yurkwan. To prevent the Hierarchy from obtaining these ancient secrets, Burton was ordered to install nuclear devices throughout the precursor installation. Once the double moon was in orbit, she was set off the weapons to destroy the entire complex. But I guess that didn't happen because we did stay there for a while. Unless that meant we left immediately. But that's, I mean, I'm sure they'll tell us in a second because that doesn't seem right. We have so much precursor stuff to get first. Okay. The non-military member of the Vela 2 research team were stunned by the order. Destroy the most significant discovery of the century. It was unthinkable. Professor Farnsworth was especially distraught, for he was in the middle of several critical research projects that promised to unlock ancient precursor technical secrets. In an uncharacteristic display of courage, Farnsworth offered to remain behind, promising to detonate the nuclear bombs if the Yurkwan found the precursor caves. The majority of the other scientists and engineers also asked to stay on Vela 2 and continue their research. Finally, Captain Burton was persuaded that saving treasure trove of advanced precursor technology was far more important than obeying a direct order from the High Command. Still, she didn't trust Farnsworth to detonate the nuclear bombs should the Yurkwan land. She decided the only logical thing to do was to remain behind herself. Whew! As I thought, there was no way it could be blowing it up quite yet. Though I guess it doesn't rule out the possibility that they do blow it up after we leave. But I feel like, aside from us, like, all the people stay behind, so probably not. On August 11th, 2134, Captain Burton gave over command to the Tobermoon to the first officer Chi, with orders to leave the star system immediately. He was to return to Earth at best speed and brief the High Command on the expedition's desperate attempt to save the precursor installation. Chi promised to return with a relief party and supplies as soon as the Yurkwan attack was repulsed. After the Tobermoon had lifted off, the team quickly moved all their equipment deep into the cave system and obscured all signs of their presence from the planet's surface. Now, if a Yurkwan was on Mississippi scanned the terrain, Vela 2 would appear uninhabited. The weeks turned into months as Captain Burton and her team of 200 waited for the return of the Tobermoon. Ah, Michael! Thank you for remembering as a super pun. Thank you. Please enjoy the emotes. Joe at this time, yes, very rare. Early Joe stream as we just chill and read some of the lore. Marooned. After 6 months in the caves, food reserves grew critically short, and Captain Burton imposed strict rationing. Professor Farnsworth found a databank in the computer memory describing Vela 2's flora and fauna. Burton felt her spirit soar as Farnsworth pointed out several plants and animals that could be harvested for food. It surprised me that they took 6 months to start investigating what on the planet might be edible. You know, I feel like if you're a scientist, that's like priority number 1, because food reserves can't last forever, right? Especially in a war situation. Anyway, the most likely sources of meat were the red-brown libyx Animals that look like winged rabbits. Oh, that sounds cute. They were hiding from the Yorkwans, that's true, but you can hide from the Yorkwans while eating food. Or investigating, the trees that are in your cave. I guess maybe some of them aren't in the caves, but they could have done that when they landed the first time. But maybe they were too careful for it. And also the six-legged ortox, 2,000-pound beasts with pendulous udders that resembled a cross between a cow and a lizard. 2,000 pounds. That's like... How much does a cow weigh? Like, I'm trying to see if, like, that's bigger or smaller or the same size as a cow. Maybe they have food synthesizers. I mean, they're saying food reserves, so, like, if they have synthesizers, I guess they need, like, something to put inside of the synthesizer to make food come out of it. So I think they might not have synthesizers, actually. 400 pounds. Okay, so this is bigger than a human cow. Gotcha. Don't blame me. I don't know what pounds are. I only know kilo. Okay. So that is quite big. I have to imagine they're like the size of a house. Both at... Oh, but often when animals are really big, they taste bad. It's the reason we don't really eat elephants. Like, the bigger animals are the worse the quality meat usually. I guess, like, you'd have to eat the cute rabbits, but the ortox probably are very nutritious though, at least. You could probably find a way to cook them. Both had cell structure, internal organs, and flesh remarkably similar to mammals on Earth. The precursor data also indicate that several plant species, especially the giant blue-flowered Ica mullen, had the same protein, sugars, and starch as corpse humans have been raising for centuries. I see. Captain Burton assigned teams to hunt wild animals and harvest food plants, allowing them out of the caves only under the cover of dark for the first year they were there. Would it matter if they went out at night? Because if the Yorkwan is scanning the planet for, like, life, they'd be scanning for heat signatures, right? So I guess they're being careful, but it's not like you can actually see people from orbit. I like your voice, it guides me to good dreams. That makes me happy. I was really nervous about doing, a reading stream, so I'm glad people are enjoying it. Then, gradually as years passed, the marooned Earthlings grew confident they were safe from discovery by the Yorkwan on this out-of-the-way little planet. The Yorkwans are scanning with their eyes. The Yorkwans have, like, the ultra hawk vision, where they can see you from orbit. But only when it's light out. It's interesting and comfy. Very comfy, thank you. Like, I think this is, like, so fascinating. I want more games that come with, like, 50 pages of lore. To, like, delve into, because I always find it very interesting. Okay. They began to see themselves as colonists and moved out of the caves to settle on the surface. I guess, like, they're probably moving under the cover of night because they're just kind of paranoid, right? The Yorkwan are very scary, so I kind of get that. Still, with Captain Burton prodding them, the humans remained cautious, building camouflaged houses and planting crops in purposely chaotic patterns. Eventually, they gave the planet a name, Unserwald. Oh, that's just German. It meant simply our worlds. Unserwald. Unserwald. 10 years slipped past, marked by the deaths of a dozen colonists from accidents and old age, and the birth of 42 children. Several of the scientists had now become full-time farmers. Others fabricated old-fashioned bullet-firing rifles and disappeared into the unsurveyed wilderness, appearing months later clad in ortox skins and bursting with tales of strange landscapes and even stranger light forms. Did I see that they funded the big remake? I did. I'm very excited that they actually managed, like, wasn't it just a remake but also a sequel to Star Control? Because, like, either way, it's very cool, like, very, very exciting. Oh, hold on. I saw Ruby's message pop up, but I don't see it in the chat. I don't know what happened to that. Just letting you know, Ruby, it's out there. I think it just got lost. Don't know why it's like that. Feel free to send it again. After more than a decade of hard work, Professor Jules Farnsworth announced with considerable fanfare that he had finally succeeded in unlocking the secret of the precursor control computer. Without Captain Burton's permission, indeed without even knowing what would happen, Farnsworth commanded the computer to initiate its prime function. The resulting near disaster almost got the professor put into a stockade. Ooh. Okay. So, precursor stuff, kind of dangerous, huh? Suddenly, the immobile machinery within the cave roared to life. Huge electrical arcs shot between massive electrodes, incinerating a wooden storage shack. Robotic vehicles began tearing across the cavern floor along pre-programmed paths which led them right through several man-made buildings. Oh, it was just a joke? Okay. I'm sorry that, like, YouTube ate it for some reason. So I guess there's like a master switch that like activated all the technology on the planet. A 30-meter tall crane-like machine detached itself from one wall and swiftly rolled through the cave, nearly crushing a group of panicked scientists. It was a miracle that no one was killed in the ensuing chaos as humans fled the caves in terror. The next day, robotic vehicles emerged from the cave and cut down a nearby forest. They leveled the ground, covered the surface with some kind of metallic plastic, and then returned to their cave. They had like... What was that movie called? With like the fairy, and they have the evil machinery that like levels the forge. That's like the precursor technology. We reached the opening, yep. From what I know from the Kickstarter was for an actual sequel. Like, it's supposed to be the truth dictator. I heard that like the old Star Control 3 has like mixed reception because it wasn't from like the original devs. So I'm very curious to see what the sequel's gonna be like. Once from the Vela's sun, her stalk-colored hair pushed up under her commander's cap, Captain Burton led a squad of volunteers back into the caves on a caution reconnaissance mission. Inside the main cavern, the squad came upon the robots assembling the spine of a huge ship. A starship. So I guess Farnsworth pushed the assemble ship button, and then the vehicles might have automatically, ran out to collect resources to build the ship. I see. Hey, Majo. Hey. Interesting. Although the robots clearly knew the humans were there, turning to focus benign scanners on the volunteers several times, they obviously did not consider the Earthlings a threat. I mean, considering they nearly flattened the Earthlings, I guess they also didn't consider the Earthlings something to be preserved. Captain Burton decided it was safe for humans to return to work in the cave so long as the people kept out of the robots' way. Days later, an abashed Farnsworth was finally coaxed back to the precursor control computer to continue his research. Almost immediately, the professor discovered two significant facts. First, the construction process would soon transition out of the caves and assemble of the starship would continue on the planet's surface. Second, as far as Farnsworth could tell, the construction was going to take a long time. And that must be the ship we eventually get. The long time that Farnsworth predicted turned out to be nearly a decade. The colonists grew accustomed to the framework of a great starship looming above their tiny village. Weren't they worried about the Yurkwan seeing that? Like, after so many years of being careful and like camouflaging their villages, like, I'd be a little bit nervous about the framework of a great starship, like, that could be picked out from satellite imagery. Maybe they camouflaged it too. Day after day, 100 robots moved across the surface of the vessel, welding and fitting, assembling and fabricating. Then one day, without warning, the construction robots stopped work and returned underground. They assumed their original positions in the cave and shut down completely. The cave was exactly the way the research team had found it, silent, motionless. I guess you can't camouflage the huge ship. I mean, yeah, it's true. Like, what can you do? Like, I guess when armies often want to camouflage where their armies are, like, rather than camouflaging, they'll, like, build a fake army somewhere else to, like, mislead the enemy about the actual coordinations of their base. And, like, at that point, you're not exactly building a second starship to serve as the fake one. I guess they were just counting on it being done before they were caught. To be fair, they had already spent, quite some decades on the planet without being caught. So I guess they were fine in the end. They could be a little bit less careful. Then, there we go. A flustered Professor Schwartz frantically asked the control computer for an explanation and got an immediate answer. There were not enough raw materials left to finish the vessel, nor were there any suitable substitutes anywhere on the planet. Okay. A week of tests by Burton and her team proved the ship was complete enough to blast off from the surface of Vela 2, but it would have to cruise slowly through hyperspace, lightly armed and with only enough room for a skeleton crew. There was another problem. The controls for the vessel were not designed for humans. It became obvious from the interior layout of the starship that the precursors were giants, and seemingly not bipedal. We did learn that when we were playing the game. One of the characters told us that they had to be giants. That is true. Levers were almost impossible to move. 3 people were required to actuate a single switch, and the chairs, beds, and other furnishing were better suited for a woolly mammoth than a human. Honestly, that kind of sounds comfortable. I would I would sleep in the woolly mammoth beds, like that sounds comfy. Some kind of automated control system was needed. After mulling over the problem for several days, Captain Burton decided that the only answer was to remove the central control computer from the cave and configure it to run the ship. Surely Professor Farnsworth knew enough about the precursor computer system to give it whatever commands were necessary to take the ship back to Earth. Despite vehement protests from Farnsworth, the captain ordered the precursor computer installed in the vessel. After 20 years marooned on Vela 2, the colonists were at last ready to return to Earth. Or were they? Pressed to begin programming the computer, Farnsworth broke down and admitted he didn't have the foggiest idea how to do it. It turned out he had never understood the incredibly complicated system. Instead, for years he had secretly employed the natural computer talents of the precocious young genius. This gifted child, now a young man, had been born on Unsterwald, the son of an officer from the Tobermoon and a research team engineer. Each night after Farnsworth left the computer control console, the young boy had crept into the caves and tinkered with the computer. Within a few months, the child had established a rapport with the computer far beyond anything Farnsworth had accomplished. When the professor discovered the boy's nocturnal activities, he used gifts and phony promises to win the child's confidence, and then talked the young genius into activating the entire complex. I guess that's us, huh? We're the genius child. This time, the captain did throw the professor into the stockade. Then Burton called this young man into her office and proposed a plan. She would command the starship, and he would serve as pilot, acting as the interface with the starship's precursor computer. With trepidation, you accepted. That's cool, that's very cool. Okay, so that is the intro to the game. And that is where the game starts off, I suppose. You return to Earth. After 3 months of intensive crew training, Captain Burton felt it was finally time to leave Unsterwald. You weren't so sure, weren't entirely comfortable with your new role as Starship Officer. Burton listened as you expressed your doubts, then put an arm around your shoulders and reassured you. You'd make a fine pilot. She'd trust the ship to you any time. Besides, all the planets were set, and the 2 of you would lead the return to Earth, and once there, send back a rescue ship for the colonists left behind. If necessary, Burton vowed, you would fight your way through the force of the Urquan hierarchy. You, above all, will remember that trip, for during the journey, you went through a rite of passage. You left Unsterwald a boy and soon found yourself forced to be a man, to lead bravely and boldly and wisely. Think back. Do you recall the exhilaration of blasting off from the tiny planet where you were born, and the sheer terror later? 3 days out, as you approached the perimeter of the cursed Oort clouds, you found the Tobermoon. Let me write down Oort clouds real quick. Oort cloud. There you go. Derelict and tumbling through space. The deep burns along her hull were mute evidence she'd seen combat, because I wonder if we can find Oort cloud in the game, we might be able to see the wreckage of the Tobermoon. The deep burns along her hull were mute evidence she'd seen combat and lost. The discovery was, of course, a great shock to Captain Burton. Yeah, it meant that our ship back to Earth never made it home. Indeed. Oort cloud is an asteroid field around star systems. I see. Oh. So, wait, does that mean that there's Oort clouds everywhere? In that case, I guess we should just focus on getting to Vela 2 if we want to see it. I see. The discovery was, of course, a great shock to Captain Burton. Unconsciously, she chewed her bottom lip, and for the first time, her handsome face showed the awful strain of the past 20 years. She'd been engaged to Captain Chi. Through 2 decades, she clung to the hope she'd see him again, kept alive the dream they'd share a marriage and children, and a life together. Now the dream was shattered. She knew he was gone, and even though there was no body to mourn over, strangely, there were no bodies at all on board. And most important, the ship systems were intact. Is there an alien that eats humans or dissolves them? I wonder. Okay, I think this one is around sun. I see. 1 second, let me check my alien notes. Fixie warriors, those are nice. The Yeehats. Let me check the evilish ones. Maybe the Mycon, because they're supposed to be like either very hot and they imply they're kind of zombie-ish. Could be. I mean, I guess the spiders, like the Illwet, kind of give me, you know, leaves no bone behind kind of vibes. I mean, I guess it could also be setting up an idea where all of them were miraculously saved. In which case, that's a much brighter take on. The entire ship was empty, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there was an alien that left no trace. Though most of the... Wait, hold on. Most of the important ship systems were intact. No, but they do say that it was deeply burnt and... Wait, burnt! The Illwats, they fight using fire. So maybe they would have faced an Illwat if it was fire? Because then... I'll just assume the spiders ate them. Mycon sounds like mushrooms though. Apparently they're like made of lead or something. Wait, what did I have? No, they need a temperature close to lead. They're not made of lead. Apparently they can't compute it. That's a good point though, because Mycon is like Latin for mushroom or something, right? Okay. For now, I'll assume they were attacked by the Illwats, because Illwat do fight with fire. I guess burns could come from any kind of laser, but I guess for now we don't know. Okay. Now the dream was shattered. She knew he was gone, even though there was no body to mourn over. Strangely, there were no bodies at all on board, and most of the important ship systems were intact. Do you remember how Burton wondered, tears brimming in her eyes, if Officer Chi and the other crew members had been taken prisoners? How her words conjured up a picture in your mind of the Earthlings being tortured, their ordeal provoking mirth in the soulless Yurquan. Okay, I guess they're hinting more at the fact that they were taken prisoner, which means they might still be alive. With a few days' work, the engineers brought the Tobermoon back to life. What came next changed your life forever. Captain Burton, the only one aboard qualified to pilot the Earth cruiser, you were put in command of the precursor starship. Admit it, standing on the bridge, those epaulets, the grieving but bravely smiling Captain Burton Pinton gleaming from your shoulders, you felt proud, sure of yourself. Hey, to be told, at that moment, you thought you were invincible. Okay, cool. Your confidence didn't last long though, did it? With the Tobermoon leading the way, you and Burton push your ship out into hyperspace. The parallel dimension where distances are fantastically compressed and interstellar travel feasible. Blazing white flashes surrounded your vessel and everything took on a crimson hue. Something up there wasn't right. Remember? Your body felt like it was in a vice and your head was spinning. You fought for control, forcing yourself to focus on the soft voice of Captain Burton radioing in command from the Tobermoon. Set course for Earth. A day later, you'd think it was a day, but now, looking back, you can be sure. A sinister shadow began following you through hyperspace. It moved fast, real fast. Within a couple of hours, it had approached close enough to interact with your ship's hyperdrive field, pulling you both back into true space. At close range, the enemy ship looked like a pair of spinning red globes surrounded by a crackling energy field. I don't think we've encountered any of those yet. Some kind of glowing water energy being connected to red globes. The alien craft built up speed rapidly as it sailed in on the starship you commanded. Burton saw the attack coming and signaled you to warp out of the area immediately. A moment later, you watched on your command console monitor as the Tobermoon flashed away on a trajectory to intercept the alien ship. As you pushed up into hyperspace, you saw a crackling bolt of energy lance out from the alien vessel and strike the Tobermoon. Burton's craft wobbled violently, then veered off on an erratic course in the general direction of Unservald. The alien craft was apparently satisfied with disabling the Toba Moon, for the strange ship made a 180-degree turn and rocketed at warp speed towards deep space. Okay, so that means that the Toba Moon is close to Unservald again. Once your starship reached hyperspace, you radioed the Toba Moon, only to learn that Captain Burton had been killed by the aliens' unexpected attack. You felt sick to your stomach. And then you wanted to punch the bulkhead. You'd been in love with Burton. You knew that now. Life stunk. Okay, so Captain Burton's dead. And presumably the rest of the crew on the Toba Moon. That means we might be able to find the Toba Moon near Unservald. Captain Burton's death left you in full command of the mission to find Earth. You navigate the precursor starship back on your original course, your mind swirling with all that had happened. A terrible doubt overtook you, gnawing at the edges of what had always been your strong self-confidence. Could you pull this off? You, a son of Unservald, born in a cave, raised on Ortok milk and Libyx meat. You, a man who'd never set foot in a university, never had a formal spaceflight training beyond the crash course from Burton. You taught yourself everything. Learning from reading computer programs and watching how engineers and scientists did things. Question ate at you now. Had you been both a good teacher and a good student? Good enough at both to prepare you for the awesome tests that lay ahead? Time would tell. Yeah, some young Toblerons should be alive to ready you back. That's true. You know, I kind of assumed when I was reading that there was just no answer, and then we learned that all of them were dead, but I guess, you know, we only learned that Captain Burton had been killed. So I guess that means that, like, somebody picked up our radio. That's a good point, And time did tell. 5 days after the alien attack, you arrived at a stellar vortex leading out of hyperspace. Don't know how to bite it, they are dead flying. Ooh. Well, I hope they figured it out and landed it on Unservald. Was it no second in command? Oh dear. Your scanner showed the vortex spiraling down to a brilliant yellow star. You knew at once that this was the great star that had given life to your ancestors. The star your Earthling progenitors called the Sun. You warped down out of hyperspace and took a navigational fix. You are just beyond the orbit of the 9th planet of the yellow star. Earth was the 3rd planet out from the Sun. With all the thrusters on you, you can reach the blue planet in 2 days. A horrible thought flits across your mind. Had the Urquan broken through the Alliance defense lines and attacked your ancestral home? Was there devastation? Had the cities been obliterated by nuclear weapons and the survivors left irradiated mutants, genetic freaks roaming the Ashen landscape like primal apes? Well, no. In 48 hours. And that's when the game starts. Okay. Cool. And then, we have the controls of the game. Okay. Oh, so the original game actually used the Trivial Quiz as copy protection. That's actually kind of cool. The online version obviously doesn't do that because we don't have the hyperspace star maps included in the game box. But isn't that like a neat little way to do the copy protection? You know, name the green dwarf at 272.7.295.1, and then you have to find the coordinate on your map to start the game. That's actually kind of a neat system. Hi. I mean, like, I understand why they didn't include that in the digital release, but that is cool. I kind of want to print out the star map. There's a time not to do those. I guess you kind of, to a degree, even have it in like the original Metal Gear Solid, right? Where you're supposed to like look up the codec code on the back of the box. I always had these kind of things with copy protection in the games back then. It's very cute. I love it. If you look at the map, it's probably colored in a way you can't photocopy it. That is so smart. It's so cool. I love, you know, these more like inventive, creative ways of copyright protection. I mean, copy protection. Sorry, not copyright. It's very cool. And Day of the Tentacle had a time machine puzzle. That's so neat. Okay, so that is mostly just over how to start the game. Doing the thingy. Okay. So this is how to launch the game. We already figured out most of traveling. I did notice that indeed the There's a lot of effect of inertia and gravity in this game. When we were playing it, I kept overshooting some of the stars because of gravity as well as inertia. I have to get better at that. Monkey Island had the classic dial pirate. Wait, how did the dial pirate work? Oh, I hope you didn't actually have to use the phone, right? Because that would get expensive. Wait, inertia ships can make use of the planet's gravity fields to achieve higher than normal velocities. Simply move past the planet, and while you're close to the planet, thrust continuously without rotating your vessel. And then as you fly away, stop thrusting. Use caution when performing this maneuver to avoid striking planets. Okay, so that's the advanced technique for speeding up. I see. It was just a dial cipher with pirates at the end result. Oh, dial ciphers are fun. I used to have them, I feel like there was an era where they were often included with books and you could like print them out and have like your own secret code, and then you could like copy them and share them with your friends, and you could like have a secret code with each other. Yeah, slingshot maneuver, that's the word for it. Yeah. Okay, so, okay. Gas giants, they're huge balls of gas. This is bringing back all my science classes again. Let's see. So for the gas giants, obviously we can't really get the elements. As such, we kind of... oh, wait, this is interesting now, because we knew there wouldn't be minerals, but it says, to date, no complex life form has ever been found in or on a gas giant. However, research into this has been minimal, which makes me wonder if in this game we might actually find some gas giant life forms eventually. You know, brings me back to, what was their name? The Melnorm, which kind of looked like clouds. Hey, Janil, hi. So that's interesting to know. Okay, Waterworld is what Earth is referred to. Okay, Selenic are small and not dense. And they have common minerals. Oh, and that's what our moon falls under. Okay. Dust worlds, not very useful. Hydrocarbon worlds, similar to water worlds. Okay, small deposits of minerals. Cool. But they also have life. Cool. Have I run into the Mycon yet? Let me check. No. I got information on the Mycon, which shows me that they're kind of zombie-esque, but I haven't found them yet. One of the sections for the Strat was gas giant gameplay. Ooh, and they made all the goals for the Kickstarter, right? They hit all of them? Hey, that's interesting. That means we get to play on the gas giants in the next game. Primordial worlds there. Typical metal core. Okay. So they have a good amount of primary supplies. Okay. I see. Hiya, Captain. Hey. The metallic worlds, we want a lot of those because we want heavy metals and minerals. Production world is similar to water worlds. Okay, but we can't breed there. Oh, radioactive worlds. We need to find a bunch of radioactive worlds because those are the good minerals. Okay, and then there's also other planet types. That's interesting. I wonder if we'll find any fancy types of planets eventually. Okay. So we know about hyperspace. So through hyperspace, we can travel faster. Let's see if there's anything interesting that stands out here. The Ailulele, who seem to be most familiar with the native hyperspace, have intimated that there are other things in hyperspace, some of which are good, while others are extremely bad. Presumably, these things the Ailu referred to would also appear on the tactical display, though what they would look like is unknown. Foreshadowing. Interesting. I mean, we did not already see stars and alien vessels show up. I wonder what these other things will turn out to be. You know, what great evils we might encounter. Interesting. Yeah, and it's, the differences in physics cause a substantial redshift in the visible spectrum, causing everything in blood red lights. We did notice that, yeah? Okay. It's theorized that these are manifestations of objects which are moving quickly. Okay. So bright lights and cascading energy bursts, we don't have to worry about those in the background. That is fine. Okay, so we don't have inertia in hyperspace, so we do have to keep thrusting to get through it. I see. Which means we need a lot of fuel. And not run out of fuel, because that will kill us. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, and then we know we can encounter spaceships. Gotcha, gotcha. And these are just the general things. We already know most of this, so I'm kind of just scanning through it for things or key tips we don't know yet. The spheres of interest influence are very interesting because I guess, like as I suspected, they are centered on their native homeworld, but they don't have to be. Like I also was wondering if they could move, and this confirms that they can, which means that, well, things might get dangerous at some point, I suppose, if because the time moves automatically. So I assume that that means that the spheres of influence might change with or without our influence over them. Okay, autopilot, we figured that out, very useful. We can just fly in a straight line. Scanning, we know about that. Mostly just have nothing be too hot, too dangerous, too earthquakey, or too weathery. And that's the main problem. Well, gravity is how much fuel it takes. Yeah. It is very cool indeed. Like I'm very curious. So, I spent a lot of time last time because I kind of forgot to buy my thrusters. And I kind of worry that maybe I wasted a lot of time doing the little Spati side quest because I didn't go very fast when it came to traveling. Hold on, color chart. 1 second. This is not the one I'm thinking of, right? No, because none of these start with a V. Because like the one hint that we got, that's like violet, yellow, orange, cyan, green. None of these have a V. Though it does confirm that the one color I was thinking of is probably cyan for the C. But then the V, what's the V? Darn it. Darn it. There's a G there though, gray. I mean, I guess like it wasn't for mineral scan, but for like planet colors, so the colors might vary anyway. Version is a little important, yes, so it turns out. Remember something like that in Space Ranger with Star System changing hands? Oh, it's so cool. Like, I love how much like effort clearly went into like the world building of this, and like I have to assume that like because of the time system that like things must be happening in the background, right? Like maybe other aliens are getting like colonized or like destroyed, or I don't know, while we're not watching, if we're not fast enough. Like I assume it must be something like that, otherwise there would be like no in-game time system. Okay, we can do the biological scan. That is right, that is right. Energy scan and dispatching the lander. We know about all of that. We don't want to lose our lander. Gotcha, gotcha. Gathering minerals, we know how that works. Native life forms. On rare occasions, you will encounter interesting life forms on alien planets. Unfortunately, interesting usually means dangerous. You will be unable to ascertain just how dangerous a creature is until it attacks, and it may then be too late. Yeah. Like those, what was it, the octopi? Those were very dangerous when we found them. We did not live through that for very long. Okay, we know about collecting the data. And the data creature sufficiently encapsulated, it will transform into a glowing specimen canister, which will then be retrieved. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt the creature at all. Which is interesting. We did find out last time that we don't kill the Great Evil at all. We just had like a whole storage bay filled with them. That we could just decide to release at any time, I suppose, if we felt to. We traded it to the Meldorn, I think. What was his name? Melnorm. Yeah. Okay. Fortunately, in general, the more dangerous the alien life form is, the more valuable its data will be. Yeah, I guess we should upgrade our zappers at some point. Okay, so this is just how to check the different parts of our roster and such. Saving the game. Um, if both of your arms are broken or you're suffering from a serious disease, you may wish to toggle the cyborg setting. For now, I think we'll probably just do the combat ourselves. We can change our names. That's what we did. Earth Starbase. Okay, so that's about our Starbase commander transferring minerals. We need to remember to do that frequently. Outfitting our flagship, all very important. I made a list of all the modules we need to add. First priority is gonna be adding more thrusters. Thought we were bullshitting the Swati when we told them that we had the evil ones in the storage. Now, as it turns out, we can just set them free. Shooting them doesn't hurt them, and we just take them with us, I guess. No, honestly, it is that kind of thing that you could totally lie about. The Spati would probably believe you. Okay, so this is mostly about how to, you know, fix up your spaceship. Encountering aliens, we've done that. We can converse with them. Here we go. The interesting part of communicating with an alien or anyone else with weather is in what they say. Okay, so this is just fairly straightforward. We can attack them or we can talk to them. I've played this game several times, but I never cleaned up the Spati planet until recently. And then went back and checked them in the Spati. They were mad. Wait, really? You can just leave some monsters behind? Oh, that is funny. Do they like refuse to cooperate? Unless you go back and like clean it up? That's true. They do say that they will go out and check the planet first before. That is funny that they accounted for that. Bedtime story that it is. Are you, Benjamin? We're reading through the manual. They'll give you one more chance. If you screw up again, they become hostile. Oh, that is funny. That is funny that is even an option. Okay. So about attacking, we get that. Just don't hit asteroids because that is bad. Once again, caps lock. Avoid hitting planets. Very, very important. Okay. The battery charge, which shows the current and maximum energy levels in the batteries. Okay, so firing and weapons consumes the batteries. That's good to know. Unlike crew, batteries recharge gradually over the course of battle. I just find it very funny that they say unlike crew, like, you know, your crew will die and they won't come back over the course of battle. It's good to know. It's good to know. Ships with constant fast energy renewal like the EHA Terminator will want to close the enemies. Okay, okay. And slower energy generator like the Micron pod ship. Okay, okay. Well, to be fair, at the moment we only have the Earth ship and the Spati ship though. Crew is your HP basically. You know, I remember them saying that in the Earth base we had roughly 2,000 people to like refill your crew with. Can you actually run out of crew on the Earth base? Like if you lose over 2,000 members? Like I keep wondering, like, can you get out of crew? Like 2,000 is quite a lot, right? But over the course of an entire game, like, who knows what will happen? Seems like the kind of game that would keep track of that, right? I guess we like, you know, did resupply them with Spati members. I'm not sure how much extra Spati we got. I think you shouldn't risk it. I think for science we should test it. Sounds like something that's hope you won't find out. We've got like a perfect 50-50% split on whether or not we should lose 2,000 people in battle. Okay, basics of blasting. The computer opponent achieves its remarkable accuracy by firing not at your ship, but where your ship is going. Which is cool. It means the CPU is actually quite intelligent when it comes down to it. Okay, okay. They did recommend practicing in Super Melee, which I haven't done yet because I think I've kind of understand how it works now. But if I ever get like super stuck, we might do some Super Melee practice. I like how they say preferably with a friend. That is cute. Commander did say that RU cost might increase. Exactly. So that makes me think that there might be like a hard limit of 2,000 humans as the base. Okay. So, if there are other ships in the enemy's task force, a new ship will warp in immediately. Interesting. So they can have more than one ship as well. That's cool. Okay, running away. You can choose to flee the battleship. Press the escape key. Okay, that is cool. It will be vulnerable though. And it seems like it takes a while to activate. The glow around your ship will pulse faster and faster until your vessel has generated enough force to speed out of the combat zone. Okay. You can still fight with a new ship. I see. And you run away while using the flagship, you leave the battle altogether. So that means you can have to run away with each ship individually unless it's your flagship. I see. The emergency warp technology for escape for combat has not been included on your ship at the very beginning of the game. However, this feature will become available. I believe it was the Earth-based commander who gave it to us, so that did become available basically after your first battle. That's pretty early on. Okay, we can analyze the wreckage, we can scavenge them. That's true, we haven't fought a lot, so in doing that we haven't found a lot of scavenging materials. We'll get there eventually. And you know, I feel bad fighting the Spati. It's the only ones we've encountered so far. Like, it's kicking a puppy. You know, you can't fight Spati. Spati are friends. Even if they're holding valuables. And they're straight up allies now, so. Okay, but now, the other part I was quite excited for. We hit the appendix on known alien races. Races in the Alliance of Free Stars. Like, I wonder if this will give us any information we don't know yet from what our friend on the Earth base told us about. The first Alliance race to become aware of the Urquan threat was the sophisticated crystalline race, the Chenjesu. In 2098, their ultra-sensitive hyperwave receivers began recording strange broadcasts, unshielded and strong, from the direction of the Cygnus star cluster. Soon after, the Chenjesu listened as the Urquan brutally conquered the first race they encountered, the Umga. You know, is this an RPG game? It kind of is, in a way. I mean, it's more like a space exploration game, but it has a lot of dialogue in it, where your choices do actually seem to have consequences. So, you know, in a way. Interesting is that the Chenjesu doesn't seem to be aware that Earth was already targeted as far back as the 1940s. Because, like, actually humanity doesn't seem to be aware that we were targeted as far back as the 1940s. That did not come up in our history lesson. By 2111, the Spati had also been subjugated, and the Ilwat, one of the Chenjesu's closest neighbors, was near defeat. The Chenjesu realized that they needed help fighting Urquan and their ever-growing armada of battle trolls. The Chenjesu's long-standing mutual defense agreement with the Murmurum became the basis for the Alliance of Free Stars. Soon the Yahat and their foster species, the uplifted Shofixti, entered the Alliance. Following humanity's introduction in 2115, the Ari Lulele and the Cyrene unofficially followed suit, bringing the Alliance to its final configuration. 7 alien races united against a common foe. Okay, so I'll grab my notes and we'll compare what we know about them with what we're being told here. So in my notes, the Chenjesu, we know they're Alliance leaders. They're silicone, smart, ancient, have good receptors, and let the strike back against the Urquan. So let's read here. Chenjesu. This race is the only known form of silicon-based life form to have achieved intelligence naturally. So are they just crystals? Interesting. The Chenjesu are the oldest, most technologically advanced species in the Alliance. And while all members in the Alliance are officially equal, the Chenjesu are a bit more equal. Since this species evolved as a photochemivore, it derives its nourishment from light and ambient minerals with no natural predators, the Chenjesu are entirely non-aggressive, performing calm and philosophical discourse above all other activities. Interesting. What sounds like you're trying to say the Patriots, but the nanomachines won't let you. Okay, so the Chenjesu are kind of like crystals. I wonder if they can hold a gun. Can they move? I mean, they must have a way to control the spaceship. I wonder if they do it with like complete brainwaves or something. Or maybe they can move normally. I don't know. Okay. The Murrum. They are cute. They look like screws. Like a drill. Okay, let me check my Murrum notes. Okay. The Murrum says mechanical, and their mother arc is near Earth region. Is my notes of the Murrum. The Murrum origin is mysterious. Less than 1,000 years ago, the first Murrum awakened alone on the surface of a dark, airless moon. Looking up, the conical segmented robot saw the huge factory starship which had just finished manufacturing it by stripping the surface of the moon for raw materials, and then refining these crude ores into final parts within its cavernous interior. In a few years, the star system teemed with millions of intelligent, self-aware robots who called themselves the Murrum. Aww, these guys are cute. These non-hostile mechanical beings were assembled for some kind of mission by a distant alien race. But we don't know which one. When born built, each Murrum awakens filled with knowledge and purpose, though to date the Murrum have not revealed the exact nature of their long-term mission. Within a certain century after the first Murrum was built, they had established peaceful relations with the nearby Chenjesu and colonized the adjacent stars in the Virginis constellation. Oh! Virginis. I will write that down. I don't think that is... Yep, that's not one I've got notes for yet. Okay. So I guess that's where we'll find them. Virginis. There we go. Yeah, we should explore them because I think they'll be friends, you know? They are historically our friends. Though, if I'm looking at my overall friend list, let me see. Yeah, these weren't wiped out. I made myself like a cheat sheet for what we know about the alien species there. It's to show Fixty, who are probably wiped out from what we heard. Okay, so I think they will be a good ally. Yeah, the Mastoid energy, they kind of does look like Ripley. They do. Oh, actually, let's see my notes. What do I have to say about the Yahat? Warrior clan. The royalty is Veep Seeps. They're competitive. And that's what we know about the Yahat. I still love Veep Seep. It's a good name. It's fun to say. Okay. The Yahat are a race of avian creatures who live their lives in the pursuit of honor for their clan, their queen, and themselves through combat. Physically, these creatures resemble a 3-meter-high hybrid between an old earth petrosaur and a bumblebee. A bumblebee? Oh, maybe that's like the coloration. They look like a pterosaur, but they're like black and yellow. Cute. To succeed on their world against larger, faster competitors, they evolved a complex programmable neural control system, a thinking brain, which allowed them to adapt to new situations with lightning speed. Like Earthlings, the Yahat entered space without the assistance of a more advanced race. It is not surprising that they grant... I mean... Did the Earthlings really? Like, I know that the Earthlings, you know, they made it to the moon. But in the canon of this one, you know, we kind of invented the Androsins, and they, like, hyperspace before us, left us, and then a couple of decades after us, the Chenjesu is like, oh, the Urkwan is gonna kill all of us. Please help, here's hyperspace technology. Like, I feel like Earth could have worked a little bit harder to claim, you know, full space independence by themselves. You know, considering we weren't the ones to make first contact. Androsins are technically people. That's true, that's true. And they still managed to get into space before we did. So they should be the ones who get the high honor. Go on, Humanity, get it together. Just don't tell them we got a little assistant and they'll still think we're cool. ASMR Joe, reach your Star Control 2 lore. That's basically what we're doing today, yeah? Okay, so and it's not surprising that they gave Earthlings such a high honor and status for the same achievement. The Yahat have great pride they did not go through this uplift process, and that their culture is totally intact. In fact, the same ruling family has been leading the Yahat people for over 2000 years, dating back far beyond their industrial age. Giving their intensely martial society, and advanced weapons technology, the Jihad became the backbone of the Alliance Star Fleet. Okay. Yeah, I think they're giving humans too much credit. They should become allies with the Endosins, who were the real humans who figured out hyperspace travel. No. I want them to be our allies. They sound like they're strong, so I want to get their ships if we can. Yeah, having their ships would be good. Shofixti. Okay, let me see my Shofixti notes. For Shofixti. They're marsupial, recent to space, noble, fearless, warriors, and they went out in a quote-unquote blaze of glory, making them potentially wiped out in the game we're playing currently. A Shofixti resembles a large marsupial carnivore, a sort of killer shrew, who exhibits furious aggressive behavior contained within a strong ethical framework. When the Jihad first found them in 2075, the Shofixti were living in a fortified mud castles in a feudal society similar to medieval Japan. The Jihad had such admiration for these feisty little warriors that they immediately adopted them and took responsibility for the Shofixti's uplift, swearing that no peace-loving race would be allowed to dilute the Shofixti's noble warlike tendencies. During the war, the primary responsibility of the Shofixti Starfix was to act as advanced scouts, establishing mines, colonies, and fortifications throughout the Scars. Okay, I wonder if you'll have a better chance negotiating with the Jihad or the Shofixti if you already got an alliance with one of them, because they're kind of friends. Otaku, they're war otaku. Then we have the Arilula The Arilula or also known as the Arilu. I'm very curious about these guys. Arilu, as individuals of these species are called, are pale, about 1.5 meters tall, and have large childlike heads with dark, soulful eyes. Although Arilu never talk, communicating through a direct telepathic link, they almost always wear a wide, innocent smile. The Arilu may have visited Earth often in the past, especially in the period between 1950 and the year 2000, during which they are suspected of having been responsible for flying saucer sightings, cropfield circles, alien abductions, and similar prankish behavior. I wonder if they were trying to warn us now, because of the line we got in the prologue. The Arilula maintain great secrecy about themselves and their motivation. The location of their homeworld or even their native region of space is unknown, as is much else about their beings. In fact, the very existence of the Arilula was not certain until the year 2116, when they appeared without warning on Earth's moon and asked to be included into the alliance. Just a little abduction as a prank. Just a prank, the Lalilulelo. I like saying their name, even though I keep saying it wrong. It's a good name. And then the Cyrene. Let me check my notes for that. My notes are just peaceful, world destroyed in cataclysm, and sexy. And seems to be right. That's how they described them in the game too. The Cyrene people evolved on a paradise world in the Ariani constellation, where they built a great artistic civilization in harmony with their environment. Nice note? Thank you. I only make the best notes. No citizen of Syria suffered want or ignorance. Then in 2035, a cataclysm of tectonic upheavals tore lava-filled chasms across the planet's surface and irrevocably poisoned their atmosphere. Disaster killed off almost all of the Cyrene population. Only those in Cyrene Space Patrol were untouched. The male population, who were rare in the patrol, were virtually eliminated. The Cyrene Space Control collected what few survivors could be found on the surface and transformed their many orbital space platforms into huge starships. In the following decades before the war, the Cyrene became wandering space gypsies, navigating their fleet of habitats through the starways, searching for a new planet of such surpassing beauty that it would forever wash away the pain of losing Syria, their Eden. true Cyrene became unofficial members of the Alliance in 2120, after suffering repeated Yurkwan attacks on their fleets of slow-moving habitats. Adapting their remaining patrol vessels for combat, the Cyrene became a potent force in the fight against the Yurkwan. The single greatest weakness of the Cyrene Starfleet, its severe shortage of trained crew members, was alleviated by Cyrene scientists who developed a psionic amplifier, which could compel even the most hostile alien to serve as Cyrene's ship captain with perfect faithfulness. Ah, I want that technology. Crews on board Cyrene ships become a surreal prestige of alien races, with Ilrad, Vox, Patti, and others working dutifully side by side, with human volunteers under command of beautiful Cyrene officers. I definitely want to ally with the Cyrene, because that seems useful. That means that, like, theoretically, maybe we would even be, like, able to recruit the Ilrads. And who else was on my probably not recruitable list? Yeah, even the Mycon or the Ilrads. Yeah, that could be interesting. That could be interesting. Wait, the Average Moonslope is considered to be a Cyrene ideal? Really? I feel that's something we'll have to discover in the game. It's not saying it in the manual yet. Then the races in the Yurkwan hierarchy. The history of the Yurkwan is largely unknown, save that they are an old race who have traveled the galaxy for thousands of years with a single motive: to find intelligent life and enslave it. Most xenopsychologists agree that the Yurkwan behavior indicates they suffered some kind of severe trauma and are neurotically acting out their need to control everything by enslaving any intelligent species they meet. Most Starcraft commanders who have faced the Yurkwan in combat think the Yurkwan attack and enslave simply because they are evil, hostile creatures who should be destroyed. The organization of the Yurkwan hierarchy is simple and immutable. All alien races are inferior to the Yurkwan. Battle Trolls, those other races who fight for the Yurkwan, are granted the next highest status, and are permitted to maintain a small amount of autonomy. All other independent species are simply known as prey. Then why put them in under a slave shield? If you could be hunting them for prey. Okay. Let's read more about the Yurkwan. There we go. That spending a lot of time in Super Melee is a good idea. A lot of the ships are weird to get used to. I see. Maybe we'll do a little bit of Super Melee practice today then. Physically, the Yurkwan resemble the predatory caterpillar native to Earth's Hawaiian Islands. A caterpillar? I thought they were like a spider at first. Okay, only grown to over 10 meters in length. That's a big caterpillar. The Yurkwan equivalent of a face is rich in sensory organs, and its expressions are varied and horrific. Aboard ship, these creatures cling to webbed ceilings with their back legs, dangling down over their controls and their slave-like crew like hungry spiders. Yurkwan are extremely territorial and aggressive, having evolved as non-social hunter-killers. Their territorial instincts are so strong that only one Yurkwan is present on each tracknet. When Yurkwan meet, they keep several meters between themselves, lest their instincts drive them to engage in unarmed battle to the death. Huh. So even Yurkwan hates Yurkwan. Dang Yurkwan, they ruined Yurkwan. Okay. I mean, I guess they're working together, but not too close. Okay, a similar linear dominant structure dictates power within the Yurkwan species. Each member of the species has a number indicating its relative power and authority. Yurkwan Master 1 is the ultimate lord of the entire hierarchy. Okay. So you're giving a number. The Yurkwan are unwilling to communicate directly with other species because to do so would be demeaning. I did see that they had like a weird frog when we talked that one time. I don't know what was up with the frog. I thought like the frog might have been the Yurkwan for a second. Okay, therefore when giving orders or interrogating enemies, the Yurkwan use talking pets, large-brained frog-like creatures which are non-sentient but possess the telepathic, empathic ability to translate all languages. I see. So that is their talking pet. Got it. Mycon. Oh, they are kind of mushroomy. Okay. The mycons are neither plant nor animal, having evolved from something more closely resembling an ambulatory fungus. Mycons are asexual and reproduce by budding their own flesh into a separate offspring. They exchange genetic materials by exhaling and inhaling DNA-rich spores. Mycons are most comfortable in a hellish environment of hot rock and poisonous vapors, which would kill most other species in seconds. Culturally, the mycon are baffling. They appear to be born adults, instantly able to assume responsibilities. In addition, all mycons occasionally undergo temporary but dramatic personality transformation, as though they were possessed by a different mycon personality. Hold on, I forgot to read my notes for Urquan and mycon. So for Urquan, I didn't have a lot of notes because this entire game is about them. Love conquest, and then all the background information we know about them being basically the big enemy that has caused all the trouble. The mycon though, my notes are can't communicate, ? Like zombies, ? Come back to life from thawing, needs temperature close to lead, sought out Urquan to join. Which is interesting because I don't remember mention the last one here, is that they joined willingly, which makes me assume that, they just really love to fight. Though I guess now, I guess my zombie note is kind of off. Now I know that they're more like fungus. I guess the coming back from thawing is probably more referring to the fact that they need high heat. So even if you freeze them, they won't die. They'll still survive. Okay. Next, the Spuddy. I love the Spuddy. Okay, my Spuddy notes. Friends. Cowardly allies. We defeated their great evil. There is a rumored Black Spuddy Squadron that is awoke and doing heroic things. They did not want to be warrior class. Friffo was left behind by the other Spuddy. Those are my Spuddy notes. The Spuddy are all abject cowards and have built quite a successful civilization around this basic characteristic. Oh, I also wrote down that the Umga like to play pranks on the Spuddy. The Spuddy physique is slight and soft, with the vital organs being covered by a hard shell surface. Spuddy have large humanoid eyes atop stiff, thick stalls that protrude from their central body mass at odd angles. When alarmed, Spuddy ooze copious amounts of unpleasant fluid from their pores. It is somewhat confusing why the Spuddy chose to fight with the Urquan, since they certainly didn't fight very hard against them, having surrendered after less than 6 hours of combat. You all have cute names, right? Hiya, Wixto. Okay, next the Umga, who looks so much cuter than I was expecting. Because my Umga notes are eager to talk, ? Pranksters. Supposedly had contacts with Arilu and screwed over Spuddy. Since they did have contact with the Arilu, it makes me wonder if maybe Arilus do just share a love for pranks. The Umga are blobbish creatures consisting of 4 main attributes: eyes, mouths, tentacles, and a strong sense of humor. The Umga make use of biological forms in their technology and must often rely on biomechanical hybridization. The Umga perform warm, moist subterranean dwellings, sheeting the interior of their ships with a thick, wet skin, and suffer from agoraphobia, the fear of open spaces. Before they were enslaved by the Urquan, the Umga culture was relatively peaceful, content to expand slowly through the surrounding Orionis constellation. Orionis. Do I have that noted yet? No. Okay. Writing down. Orionis. Umga. Okay. Here we go. The most serious conflicts caused by the Umga are the result of their incessant practical jokes, such as clogging a fleet of Spuddy eluders' life support system with fast-growing, foul-smelling goo. The pranksters. So silly. They look kind of like weird frogs, huh? Kind of remind me of Ultron from the Teenage Mutant Turtles. I think I can see it, yeah. I'm excited to meet one of the Umga. They sound like they'll be funny. And then the Vux. Now my Vux notes say Vux. I have a note that they are in the Lighten system. Only the Jihad knew of them. And Commander Jeffrey Elwand encountered Fox by Beta Mira and offended him with an accidental insult. So I think this is one that we'll be able to, maybe recruit if we apologize, thoroughly for whatever the insult was. McQuang, they're so silly. They look so silly. I want to meet them. Okay, the Vox are bipedal and will be considered humanoid were it not for their heads, which looks like a tragic combination of a squid and a banana slug. I'm a slug. The Vox are very sensitive about their looks. Indeed, in the Fox culture, physical appearance is of tantamount importance, and the Vox spend a great deal of their time on clothing, jewelry, and user-friendly. Oh no, did the captain call him ugly? The Vox repulsiveness to most other races is matched by their technological achievement in linguistic translation devices. This combination led to the unfortunate incident in 2126 when the Earthling cruiser Miwok made first contact with the Vox near Beta Luton star system. I already wrote those down, we learned it in the game. The Miwok's captain ranked, upon first seeing the Vox commanders on his view screen, remarked to his officers, "That's the ugliest freak face I've ever seen." Oh no. Wans was unaware that his every word was being relayed to the Vox captain with perfect clarity. This grievous insult and the subsequent ill will between the Earth and the Vox delayed the Vox's entry into the Alliance long enough for the Yurquan to enslave them. I see. that will be hard to wipe over, but we can try. Poor Vox, but I think in the conversation they even said that was like the gravest error humanity ever made, which kind of implies that maybe if we do recruit the Vox, we have a chance against the Yurquan. Oh, and the Androsynth. Let me grab my Androsynth notes. Okay. Androsynth. Formerly enslaved by the humans for 50 years. Don't like humans. We actually learned a lot more about the Androsynths when we were looking through the lore earlier. These human clones established a fledgling colony in the Velpeculaire constellation after fleeing from Earth. I think I did write down Velpeculaire earlier. Hold on. Yeah. Ah, wait, no, I've got Velpeculaire from one of my in-game notes, saying that there used to be rock-like aliens in the past. Huh, maybe they're living together with them now. Interesting. During the following 3 decades, the Androsynths focused their energies on reproduction and armament. The Androsynths were totally unaware of the Yurquan invasion until the aliens were on top of them, capturing their home star systems in a few short weeks of intense interplanetary combat. Androsynths now fight for the Yurquan, and many Earthlings fear that should the Alliance lose the war with the Yurquan, the Androsynths' hostility towards humanity could result in great suffering for Earth. We can't go much worse. They already put us under the slave shields. Great mistake wasn't pineapple on pizza. I'm a dirty pineapple on pizza defender, I'm sorry. It's tasty. Then the Illwats. Okay, let me find my final Illwat notes. Mean spiders. Hostile but weak. Fought the Changesu and the Murmurham. In my notes. I'm sorry, sir. I like it too. Okay. I know it's a very divisive pizza, but sometimes sweet and savory are nice. I can't help it. Before the arrival of the Yurquan, these violent religious insectoids were of little consequence to their neighbors, the Changesu and the Murmurham, because they possessed little in the way of advanced technology or raw resources. However, when the Yurquan conquered their species, the Spyros Illwat became dangerous indeed. Now, with modern weapons and drive systems, the Illwat revel the opportunities to deceive and destroy other forms of life, as is required by their twin gods of evil, Dokon and Kazon. I see. Why do we all blaspheme against Italian food? Because tasty. I'm sorry, I like traditional Italian too. But the pineapple ain't all fat. Okay, so this is probably what they meant by hostile but weak, because they were saying that in the past that the Yurquan conquered the hostile but weak Illwat. I guess they're no longer weak, because the Yurquan gave them the technology to be strong. Okay, okay. I see. From a flavor by the sweet acidity of Python cuts through the heavy cheese. Unfortunately, it's an affront to gods. That's just the way things have to be sometimes, I'm afraid. You know? Sometimes the affront to gods are the tastiest of dishes. Okay, so these are mostly troubleshooting, it seems. Instructions for super melee. Okay. That's if we want to do some practice. Time to upgrade to DOS 5. If we run into any issues. Okay, that's all straightforward. Combat vessel descriptions. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so we have the Arilula Lile Skiff. An Arilu skiff, when flown skillfully, can be one of the most effective spacecraft. Its speed and inertia... Is it invisible? It's just like a single line that gets scanned poorly. Its speed and inertia-less drive make it the most maneuverable of all ships, and its special ability to teleport can help it escape from fatal situations. The Arilu skiff has an auto-targeting, swivel-mounted short-range laser that pumps out damage quickly. Unfortunately, the Arilu ship can only sustain minimal amount of damage itself. A successful captain will use this teleport function as well as the opponent's inertia to move in quickly along the rear or flank of the enemy ship, unload from a full store of energy, and then fly or teleport quickly away to recharge. I see, I see. Then we've got the Genjutsu Brood Home. Genjutsu have brood? Thought they were like crystals. The main weapon of the Genjutsu, the Photon Crystal Shard, is versatile for both offense and defense. As long as the fire button is pressed, the shard continues on its way. If you hit an enemy with the whole crystal, it does a great deal of damage. If the crystal misses, release the fire bottle while it is still near the enemy ship and the shard will explode into smaller pieces. Since the crystals do not harm the Genjutsu, they can be exploded at point-blank range to create a kind of ek-ek. One powerful ability of the Genjutsu is to launch self-directed doggies and de-energizing offensive guided interceptors. These little drones can steal the energy from ships or just pester the enemy until they are ready to give up. The best strategy for a Genjutsu is to keep a good distance between itself and the enemy ship. Okay. Then the Earthling Cruiser, that's the one we have. It's primarily for hit-and-run long-range attacks. Stay away from the enemy ship and fire your seeking nukes constantly. Use a gravity whip of the planet if necessary to keep your distance. Be careful not to collide with the planet. The only reason I have to get close to an enemy vessel is to make an honorable point defense laser coup de grace to eliminate the opponent's last crew member. Okay. Then we have the Murmurhum X-Form. It's actually 2 ships in one. Its special power allows it to transform from one form into the other. The Y-wing form of its ship is fast but not very maneuverable. It fires long-range homing missiles that do only a small amount of damage. The X-wing form is slow, but has a good turning capability and fires powerful double-lance convergent laser. One very effective way to take advantage of this ship is to stay mostly in the faster Y-wing form, transforming into the X-wing. Oh, so this one gets to transform. I see. And the Shofixi Scouts? I want to try the Shofixi, apparently because they're like good warriors. They're small and very quick. They have a limited number of crew and a relatively weak forward-firing gun with moderate range. Special capability of the ship that it can detonate itself like a big bomb and cause great damage to an opponent's ship. Of course, this requires the Shofixi ship to get itself close enough before detonating. Shofixi captains who are patient may find that their little gun can be quite effective when fighting slow or short-range enemies. I guess the Shofixi got like a suicide attack then? They did imply that they might have in like some of the conversations we saw because they went out in a blaze of glory. No wonder they might be wiped out. Oh, they look like typical flying saucer UFOs. Okay, I just scanned like a line. Okay. They're not invisible then. Thank you for looking it up. Okay, we've got the Cyrene Penetrator. This space vessel has the unique potential to leave a battle much stronger than it enters it. The goal of a Cyrene ship is always to just get close to the opposing ship and use the Cyrene call. This causes the enemy crew... Oh, it's the recruitment ship! They jump ship and drift through space towards the Cyrene ship. Cyrene can then pick them up and use them as our own crew. One very effective trick is to use the Cyrene call and fire simultaneously. This way, when your opponent has only 1 or 2 crew members left, the Cyrene can destroy them before they have the chance to pick any of their crew back up again. How many pages is this manual? Like 90 or something? Though there are parts like that aren't really lore related that we can get through fairly quickly. We're currently most of the way through. The Jihad Terminator. The powerful and direct Jihad Terminator is the earliest of all Star Control ships. The ship is equipped with extremely powerful medium-range dual cannons, as well as a shield that, when activated, protects it from any weapons. Avoid the temptation of exhausting all your energy with your guns, saving some for your shields. Also remember that energy generation on the Jihad ship is not sufficient to maintain constant shielding. Lastly, since Jihads are not particularly fast, they can often benefit from a gravity whip from the planet. This allows them to strafe an opponent as they go sailing past. Okay. So that seems like a pretty good ship, like once we get the Jihad as well. Yeah, it's a very thick manual. I love, back in the day when manuals were big. They don't make them like that anymore. I guess because it's too expensive to print them. I just read the manual for Castlevania Adventure. It's literally 4 pages long. I think the big difference is like PC game versus like console games, right? Console games sometimes have pretty thick manuals, but PC games are the ones that like often have like the full lore in the middle of it. Then we've got the Androsynth Guardian. I mean, to be fair, like even the creature's manual was like 60 pages. Like it depends on the game a lot. They don't even make them at all now. No, unfortunately. Okay, the Guardian vessel is normally very slow and its weapon fires auto-humming molecular acid bubbles. These tend to be most effective when fired and masked to create a dense cloud of bubbles that can serve as a haven for the Androsynth ship, or to create a cloud of bubbles in the opponent's path. Guardian can transform itself into a blazing comet-like ball of energy. When it does this, it travels at high speed until all of its energy is used up. When the Androsynth is in this comet-like blazer form, it can ramp an opponent's ship and do a large amount of damage. Another use of the blazer form is for escape. We saw this one on the Androsynth page, or like the history page, when they were escaping. And we definitely saw the picture before. Yeah, PC games like this had huge ones because there was no space to put it in the game. There is that too. The Ilwat ship unfortunately doesn't seem to have scanned particularly well either. And the Ilwat ships are only moderately powerful because they are not very fast. And the weapon is only effective at short range, but it sure did obliterate us when it hit us. In order to compensate for the weapon's shortcoming, the Ilwat ship has a special cloaking capability. It's not scanned poorly, it's just cloaking itself. Learn where the Ilwat Adventure is when it's invisible. Since the ship screen always stands on the midpoint between the two ships, the Ilwat is always diagonally opposite its opponent. When your enemy gets near the center of the screen, you must be there too. So open fire, literally. Be aware that when you uncloak by firing your Hell Blast, your ship is automatically oriented to point at your opponent's ship. If your enemy has maneuvered around behind you, you can turn around instantly by cloaking and immediately firing your Hell Blast. Okay. The Mycon bot ship. This extremely slow ship can fire a strange homing weapon made of semi-sentient energy plasma that dissipates after it's launched and does a huge amount of damage if it hits the opponent. The Mycon ship can also use its energy to regenerate crew that has been lost. Against most ships, the Mycon bot ship is a dead duck if it sits still. Once it gets moving, a good gravity whip will do. Its commander can fire a plasma torpedo now and then, and generate any damage that comes his or her way. However, to give yourself time to respond to an onrushing celestial body, avoid diagonal whip trajectories. One of the most serious threats to the Mycon is its own weapon, the expanding plasma cloud. Fast ships like the Ailu, Shofixti, and Slylandro will try to direct the plasma weapon back upon the Mycon. The Mycon is moving at or beyond its normal maximum velocity. It can overrun its own weapon immediately after launch, suffering grievous casualties. Solution: shoot backwards. Yeah, just lore accurate cloaking. Exactly, that is what it's all about. Interesting, that seems like a tricky ship to use, honestly, especially if it's very slow. The Spati Eluder. Unfortunately, more scanning issues across these 2 pages. Previously known as the Discriminator, the Spati ship is very fast and maneuverable with moderately ranged and relatively weak forward-firing gun. The ship is most dangerous when running from the enemy and launching backwards utilized tracking torpedo missiles directly into its pursuer's path. The Spati commander's main job is to entice its opponent into chasing him. Taunts and jeers work well. Another effective strategy for Spati commander is to circle his opponent's ship just out of range, popping in to launch butt missiles and then out again. The otherwise ineffectual forward guns can become quite deadly with practice. If you need to kill only a few more crew for a victory, as when fighting an undamaged Ailu, don't shoot your Watt in a single facing, instead rotate as you fire to increase your chance at a lucky hit. I see. Yep, just aim backwards, I guess, is the strategy for this party. Make them chase you. Okay. The kite player most hated in Armored Core 6. Ah, did they have like an archetype like that in Armored Core 2? Then we've got the Umga drone. The Umga drone can defeat any other ship, given just a few seconds at close range. A favorite Umga tactic is to zip backwards right up to the next enemy. If the antimatter cone is up through the maneuver, there's a chance of it grazing the enemy as you zip past for a few bonus points of damage. Especially important against the Ailu. Another way to use the retro movement is to thrust at the same time you zip backwards. This results in a jerky half-speed maneuver which opponents often find difficult to deal with. So another backward ship, basically. The Umga antimatter cone also makes effective shield against incoming missiles. Notable exceptions are the Changesus Whole Photon Crystal and the Urquan's Fusion Blast, which pass through the conical field unharmed. The Umga receives all its power in one big crack after a considerable delay. Each time the Umga uses its antimatter cone, this delay is reset to maximum. So if you keep the cone up, you will never regain fuel. I see. I wonder if they're cut out on purpose. I don't see why, but it does kind of seem like they're covered up, yeah. I wonder if they just didn't scan right and it just like whited them out for some reason. Very strange. A light mech with long-range plasma cannon and bunch of missiles. I see. I guess that can be tricky to fight against. Interesting that they're covered up. Rather than building a faster ship, the Vox have taken the approach of slowing down the other ships. They do this by homing limpets which cling to the hull of an enemy ship, making it less and less maneuverable. In addition to this, the Vox ship comes equipped with a very powerful medium-range laser and a large store of energy to power it. The Vox is one of the slowest and least maneuverable ships in the game. Helping to offset this, the intruder has the advantage of always appearing near an enemy vessel when combat begins. The Vox commander must be ready to fire instantly and make course adjustments to keep his laser on target. If the enemy escapes and possesses any long or intermediate range weapons, the Vox must immediately seek out the planet and engage in a gravity whip. If the enemy launches a seeking weapon, don't forget to shoot as it approaches. When the Vox nears its target, it should slow down by rotating to face the enemy and thrusting. Never engage your enemy unless you have lots of fuel. To make effective use of your limpets, deploy them in a curtain, then turn and thrust ahead of your enemies, where your enemy must flee to avoid them. When the enemy is really gunked up and you are fully recharged, use your laser to blast the enemy ship hull. Remember, though the Yiad shield is proof against your laser, your limpets pass through its defense ineffective. The Vox seems like a hard ship to play with. Yeah, I think it's a scan issue. Found none that has scanned properly. I see. Then we have the Urquan Dreadnought. Most experienced players would probably say that either the Urquan Dreadnought or the Koran Marauder is the most powerful ship in the game. The Urquan has an immensely powerful medium-long range weapon that fires rapid fusion plasma blasts. It also has the capability of launching pairs of autonomous laser-equipped fighters. Remember that each fighter represents a departing crew member, so if you are wounded to start out with, don't send off all but the last few of your crew and risk defeat through a single enemy lucky shot. Also, fighters expire if you don't let them return to your ship. Avoid high-speed chases or your fighters will be left far behind. Use fighters at short range and in conjunction with your main weapon. For the best results, chase an opponent in one direction while you head off in the opposite direction to meet them as he wraps around. Interesting, because that seems to imply that we can control the Urquan down the line. Though maybe that's just for the special space battle modes. And maybe not in the game itself. Okay. Oh, and these don't have pictures? Oh, posted it? Okay. 1 second. I'll take a look. Ooh. Let me see. Oh, but it's a whole PDF. Okay. I appreciate it, but I'll look at it later. The Kora Marauder. The Kora ship is one of the few ships that is a good match for the Urquan Dreadnought. The two ships are comparable in speed, maneuverability, crew, and energy regeneration. However, instead of firing plasma blasts, the Kora vessel fires missiles which continue to move away from the ship until the fire button is released. Once the fire button is released, the spinning metal blade discs remain where they were placed. Interesting. When an enemy vessel draws near, it tracks on the vessel and closes with it. A Kora commander will often first lay down a defensive wall of blades around the ship, then litter an opponent's path with the spinning weapons. Only 8 blades may be present on the screen at any given time. When the 9th is fired, the first one disappears. The other capability of the Korra ship is known by the other aliens as the Fiery Ring of Inevitable and Eternal Destruction, or Fright. This is actually an expanding ring of superheated gases that can be used both for defense and close-range offense. When facing the Yuquan, the Korra is better off staying further away, and the Yuquan better off closing. Okay. I wonder if I should be reading these. Because we don't actually know what the Korra, the Utwig, the Tradash, the Punk, or the Supox are. Like, maybe these are like secret species we don't know about yet. Because, maybe we shouldn't read these yet, because it might be spoilers. Oh, my normal ones that we did find though. My normal, the traders we found. So I guess that's what happens if we ever fight a trader. They have large projectiles, pulsating missiles, and long-range confusion ray. Okay, well these all seem to be aliens we don't know yet, so we probably shouldn't know about it. Okay, these are the modules we can buy at the base. Okay. Oh, and that is it. Well, we're slowly gonna be building out our flagship. I think that's, like I said before, we'll start with the thruster. That is the priority, because it should be pretty useful to have. And then we'll upgrade the cargo bay, upgrade the turning jets, maybe extra dynamo, like a bit of everything, but thrusters are the priority. That's where we'll start, because we were certainly a little bit too slow last time, and I'd like to be a little bit faster this time. Okay, about the... Oh, this is cute. I was gonna, skim over this, but then I realized they wrote themselves an author profile. Subject: Bo Weich III, age 31 years. Species: human male, minor mutations and plastic reinforcement. Function: game designer, artist, father, of limited value to society. Environment: woodlands and grassy hill of marine country in Northern California. Behavior: early mid-nesting phase, characterized by long stretches of calm, peaceful activity with infrequent but intense episodes of panicked frenzy. Oh, this is cute. This is like the best about the author I've seen in a while. Positive traits: open, honest and friendly, easy to take advantage of, naturally content and happy, tries to get along with others. See first characteristic. Aww. Recommendation: Weich poses no threat to our objective. However, if subject should stumble into our plans, force him to view reruns of Ren and Stimpy until his mind is utterly disintegrated. Okay, next. Subject: Fred Ford. Species: cyborg. Human male. Analog: Cybervet model R216. Function: the subject works as a computer programmer, but this is only a cover. In reality, he is a spy, the covert operations coordinator for a race of alien invaders. Environment: Ford's dwelling is a small living cubicle, surrounded on all sides by human females in similar cubicles. They may be keeping an eye on the subject's nefarious activities, or they may have succumbed to his artificial pheromone exudation. Further study is warranted. Behavior: subject makes every effort to be just one of the guys. However, mistakes have been made, revealing the cyborg's superhuman memory, senses, and physical coordination. As a result, Ford is considered eliminating all its friends to avoid being revealed to the authorities. Oh no! Hey Hideki, hey. It's a Discord mod. Are they all invading from outer space? Recommendation: the Cyberfoot is functioning perfectly, as we planned. The subliminal messages it has implanted in its most recent computer game are certain to sap the energy of all Earthlings, to distract them until we are ready to make our move against the planet. Oh my god, Star Control 2 is canonically alien propaganda! But it's a bit more grandiose than Paul. Paul doesn't know that there's an alien among him. Oh, do you want to back up your disc? It's got a 90 day warranty. I like the legal mumbo jumbo. Though it doesn't seem like it has any funny parts inside of the legal mumbo jumbo. Okay. and that is the manual. But I wanted to show off like my notes so far. I wasn't sure if people would be interested, but I did take some pictures so you guys have an idea of how bad I am at note taking, I suppose. Technically, the ones I'll show you guys. Oh, it's a little bit zoomed in. 1 second. Let me zoom it out a little bit. It's not much, you know. It's just a little, but this is what we've got so far. So that is my little notebook that I showed you guys before. I put stickers on it so it looks like a little alien. Because I didn't go to university. I went to university and graduated. That doesn't make my notes less messy. Truth is, you guys are seeing the neater notes that I rewrote to be like more readable. I've got like a little bit of like doctor's handwriting whenever I'm taking notes fast otherwise. And even these notes aren't like super neat. But yeah, here you go. Here's a glimpse into my notes. Oh, even I went to university. I stuck to note taking. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm not good at note taking, but you guys have a little idea of my favorite is the top left, which is my alien species note, which is my I put like little symbols on whether I think they might be persuaded. If we're friends now, which is the spati, they get little hearts. Whether they might be hard to convince, and whether they are currently a Yurkwan combat slave, because the Yihads, they were formerly friends, but we are told they now fight for the Yurkwan. These notes are really neat. Thank you, thank you. That's after I rewrote them though. I'll show you guys a glance at what my notes look like before I kneaded them up. But this is the ones I've been using today, as well as to revise for the stream tonight. Also, I guess I covered it up a bit, but there's also a 0 for currently Yurkwan slaves, which is the Cyrene, which means they were conquered too. They're probably behind the slave shields. And the little skull and bones is dead, because they told us the Shifoxy are dead. Then on the game hints page, I wrote down, like I put like a couple of pages between each of them to like have more space to write. Like I wrote down like once again the planet color and value thing, which we still haven't quite figured out, as well as a to buy list. A little checklist of the things I still want to buy when we play the game. And also note that emergency warp will take 5 fuel. And I'll probably continue from there if we need any more games. Came to the first conclusion I did when I first played. Nice, nice. I mean, this is just going off what they told us history-wise. I guess I didn't write down anything for the Melnorm, but that's because they didn't seem like they wanted to fight at all. They just feel like they might trade, so like I'm not sure if we can recruit them, so they're not... I guess I could write the Melnorm under friendly. They're kind of like a neutral, you know, thing. And here's my little explanation note, which is a little bit unclear, but I wrote down which planets we visited with solar systems, as well as location clues, which I assume are like story hints on where to go next. I also wrote down a few extra today while we were going through the manual. I'm not sure which one of these clues I will go after first. Like, it's interesting that the Mother Ark was near Earth, but I assume that, like, I'm not sure if that one's still there, but we can go look for it, I suppose. And then I'll give you guys a brief glimpse at what my notes look like before I neaten them out, when I was, like, writing them in a hurry while we were playing last time. As you can see, it's a lot more messy. And only I understand what they mean. And honestly, a week later, I'm not sure if I would have still understood what they meant, so that's the reason. I actually rewatched my VODs, wrote them out a little bit more neatly, and also organized them a little bit better. But yeah, that's a brief glimpse at the notes I've made so far. I had no idea where the Endosynths would go. Yeah, no, you might notice that, like, for the Endosynths, I initially wrote down X because I thought they'd be hard to convince, because our only info on them was like, they hate humans. But then I found out, you know, the Yurkwan kind of did conquer them, so I feel like maybe if we apologize and promise them, human rights when they come back to Yurt. I'm like, okay, maybe that's why there's a question mark now, because I'm like, maybe they could be persuaded, even if they aren't friendly currently. That's where I'm standing on the Andresint. Um, yeah. I also like, you'll notice the triangles are for anybody who the history told us was conquered by the Urquan. And because of that, because they didn't like literally sign up like the Mycon, I figured that the Omga and the Vox might be argued with. Especially because for the Vox we know that we just did a horrific diplomatic faux pas when we first encountered them. And also the Omga, like, they're just funny pranksters. I feel like we can probably talk to them. So yeah, that is basically where we're at Star Control. I thank you all for joining me today. I was a little bit nervous because I've never done anything like this before. Take this honorary bone. Thank you. So I hope you guys enjoyed going through the manual and the lore of the game. Your handwriting is nice. Thank you. You're one of the first people to ever tell me this. I always consider my handwriting to be so bad. It's really messy, I feel. That's cozy entertaining. I'm happy to hear. Thank you. Maybe I, might get the courage to do this again when we get to Star Ocean 3, where I kind of want to read through the library, but maybe not on the mainstream out of fear that people might not like it. So, we might do like little side reading streams once in a while. Should see mine, let yet teach them to get lessons. No, same. I mean, to be fair, that was after I needed it up a little bit. Like, my teachers would always criticize me very strongly on my handwriting. I've started writing bigger. I used to write really small too. I'd love to listen to the thought to lull me to sleep. That is not offense at all. That always makes me really happy when people say that, they're comfortable or relaxed enough to fall asleep when they listen to me talking. Like, that's a huge compliment. It makes me happy to hear. Because yeah, I'm happy that people like my voice, I suppose. So, if you want to use the thought to fall asleep too, then please do. And you'll learn a little bit more about Star Control and its various species. But that said, like I said today, this afternoon was just gonna be a very relaxed, casual stream where I just looked through a bunch of stuff. So we'll wrap it up there. I'll grab myself some lunch, early dinner, and then I'll be back at 6 to play Star Control 2. And we'll put all the things we've learned to the test. And between now and then, I'll choose my next targets on where we go to on the space map. Comfy Sebum voice to relax sleep too. I mean, honestly, like, I'm a little bit nervous because I feel like other people are really good at it, but I kind of want to try, just relaxing reading stream, like, ASMR. I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to you guys. Like, I don't think I'd be very good at it, but I'd like to try it one day, and then you can, relax sleep to that. And also, technically, it's a long time ago, so I feel like a lot of people might know, but I talk in my sleep, and I, shared the recordings of that one time as like a charity reward. I kind of want to like turn it into a video, which I don't know if that's relaxing to fall asleep to, but it would be like sleeping next to me because I'm talking in my sleep. I guess bedtime story, Joel. Yeah. I smile with you. Great comment from you. Thank you. I read Mega Man lore to you for 6 hours. Unironically, could be fun. HP Lovecraft reading could also be quite fun. What language do you talk in my sleep? Most of the recordings are in English because I guess that's what I use to communicate the most. But a couple of the recordings are in Dutch and Japanese. So once in a while, you get all three. Loudly sawing logs? No, I actually don't snore at all. I'm very, very silent. Mysterious bedtime murmuring. It's true though. Like, it's funny. One of the recordings, well, my mom was visiting Japan, like, has me talking in my sleep, and like I hear my mom come into the room and being like, "What are you on about?" And I'm just like, me, and then like she just leaves again. I'm sorry, Mom. That's I wasn't talking to you. In Dutch, though, she was like, "Wat heb je het nu over?" Basically. Yeah, she knows by now. But yeah, Dream Logic ASMR. God, like that would be very trippy, I think. One of the few things my old friend complimented, how I'm a silent sleeper. Yeah, I'm basically completely soundless to the point that like you can barely tell I'm like even alive. I'm very silent, but I will randomly start like whispering or talking in my sleep sometimes. Which I have an app for that records it. Because I think it's funny to like hear what I was saying too. But yeah, that is all for now. I'm gonna get myself a snack or a drink. I hope to see you guys again in 3-ish hours. 3.5-ish hours. No, the mothership is going to slap you with the fist of darkness. And I hope to see you again then. Till next time, thank you all so much for joining me for this little stream. And I'll see you then. Bye 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 bye. Bye bye.